We love to celebrate the greatest achievements, don't we? Eh? The fastest runner in the world, the football team at the top of the league, the biggest marrow at the Oswestry show. Yeah, that was my Uncle Bernard. Now, once again, it's that time of year when we celebrate the most magnificent accomplishments of the architectural world.
Yes, the competition to find the Royal Institute of British Architects House of the Year is back.
Oh, my word! How phenomenal!
The judges have hand-picked a long list of Britain's most awe-inspiring new buildings.
Yeah, it's a bit like the clashing gates in Jason the Argonauts.
Yeah, a bit like Parting of the Seas in some respects, yeah.
We're exploring every nook and cranny.
I can see into their bathroom.
You can, I can't.
From buildings that create beauty in challenging places.
We are underground, and yet... Oh, my goodness, what a great set of spaces.
To homes that pioneer exciting new ways of doing things.
Oh, this is so intense.
The houses we explore will be whittled down to a shortlist of just 7. Before we find out in the final programme which is House of the Year 2022.
May the best house win.
I've taken all the long-listed houses we're looking at and divided them into 4 categories. In later episodes, we'll discover breathtaking transformations of pre-existing buildings. Homes that pioneer groundbreaking ideas. And houses that demonstrate exceptional craftsmanship.
This time, we're looking at 5 extraordinary houses which were all exceptionally hard to build. Some are in impossible places, from windswept beaches to tight urban infill plots. Others have incredible design ambition that push their builders to the absolute limits. All of them have triumphed over adversity, like the SAS of the architectural world. Anything that's been thrown at them, they've taken in their stride. Best thing is, we just get to look round them after they've done all the hard work.
Exploring these houses with me are the design expert and writer Michelle Gunderhin.
Oh, wow. Now that is one dynamic window.
The architect Damien Burrows.
It is beautiful.
And joining us for the first time, the conservation architect Natasha Huck, Belfast bred and now based in Edinburgh.
They're absolutely amazing. It's just full of light.
If you want an easy project, then you pick a site like this. A nice big plot, plenty of access on all sides, super level, plenty of space for your site hut and your materials. And here, for goodness sake, there's even shelter provided by these mature trees. However, some people just like to give themselves a hard time.
And few sites are harder to build on than this wild and windswept stretch of the south coast. Michelle's here on the trail of our first long-lister.
Oh gosh, there it is. Right on the beach, I can't believe it. Looks like a little pink fondant fancy.
This is Sea Breeze. On the outside, it's a kiss-me-quick beach hut with a jaunty asymmetric roof and candy floss-coloured walls. Indoors, it's a seaside pleasure palace, complete with a luxury spa. But with the nearest road hundreds of metres away and in an exposed spot under threat of fierce winds and sandstorms, building it here was no picnic.
So Rob, hi, nice
Hi
to
there.
meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
The architect who rose to this windswept challenge was Rob Pollard.
It is literally on the beach. It does look very pristine and quite delicate, and yet This is quite harsh conditions to build a house in. It's a beautiful day today, but it's pretty breezy.
It is, yeah, it's extremely harsh down here. On a typical day, you get 30, 40 mile an hour winds, but it can get up to 80, 90 mile an hour winds down here. You've got the sea that comes in within 40 foot of the building, and you've also got sand that just swirls around the building and is very damaging. Through the construction process, you've got to keep the sand out, because if it gets in the layers of construction, it can start to affect them. So we had to build a scaffolding structure around the whole thing and effectively enclose the building site. So we put a roof over it, we wrapped the whole thing.
Sand threatens finished buildings too, wreaking havoc on external finishes like paintwork or cladding. So Sea Breeze is therefore wrapped head to toe in hard-wearing microfiber concrete.
It has an incredibly kind of crisp finish. I mean, there are no sills or ledges. Why is that?
Usually properties with window sills and ledges, the sand will collect and it starts to seep through the windows. Gutters, they just fill with sand literally on a daily basis. So we went for this very flush finish, flush windows everywhere. We just didn't want to create those ledges that sand could build and start to damage the building.
Sea Breeze is a compact 1.5 stories high. Downstairs, there's a spa tucked away at the back, with the open-plan living, cooking and dining space facing the sea. Upstairs, there are 2 bedrooms, including a generous main suite. As you cross the threshold, you enter a world of 5-star luxury.
Oh, wow.
It certainly all feels incredibly luxurious.
The glamorous main living space delivers all the fun of the seaside without any of the inconvenience. There's a terrazzo floor that looks like shingle, but doesn't get between your toes. Instead of predictable piles of driftwood, there's a beautifully crafted eucalyptus kitchen. And the wraparound corner window allows for feasting of the eyes on the rolling waves, but not your ears.
It's so quiet in here. I mean, there could be a storm raging out there and I can't hear anything. Why is that?
When you close that door behind you, everything's triple glazed and got high-grade seals on it. So acoustically, the building is so robust that the idea is that you can hear the waves crashing outside, but inside, it's absolutely just silence.
The RIBA judges praised Sea Breeze for embracing the pleasures of leisure time and for overcoming the challenge of its modest plot by cleverly organising space. Downstairs, everything's built in, from the dining table to the TV area. But the most skillful solutions are on the first floor. In the main bedroom, lined in fumed oak, a decadent bath makes the most of the eaves. Opposite, a deceptively lofty sleeping area with a magnetic focal point.
And that is one dynamic window.
It is the ideal spot for watching the world go by. But what if it is also watching you?
Was privacy not a concern?
It very much was, yeah. We wanted it to not feel like you're in a goldfish bowl. We wanted to not fully glaze this elevation. We went for effectively 2 metres square, and then we wanted to get this little side window in next to it that could be a fun little window when you're in the bath. We also sort of kinked the angle on the bed so you didn't feel like you're in direct sight line.
And it is pretty spectacular. I mean, come on, waking up to that every morning has got to be something else.
Sea Breeze is the ideal place to get away from it all. There's not even a road to reach it. The only access is over the sand. Not a problem when all you have to carry is your togs and towel, but when you're bringing in mountains of construction materials...
We had a vehicle which was fully on this job, sort of 12 hours a day, manoeuvring materials and people and labour from the main car park and roadside to bring the scaffolding up. We had to get a JCB with trailers and what have you. So it was very complicated and complex, took double the amount of time.
The builders were on site for 18 gruelling months. For their client, Sophie, it was worth every moment.
It was a huge project. It was a risk to do. For us, it was a dream, and we decided to go for it. We've done it because it's such an exceptional place. I just come here and I just feel so relaxed immediately. You can go for a walk on the beach, so much air and nature and the elements. It's just wild.
It's a wild idea to put a luxury spa at the back of your seaside cabin too, but an inspired one.
Oh, wow. Now that is some serious 5-star luxury in a beach hut. Sauna, steam room, and a very ample jacuzzi. Let's see if we can get some bubbles. Very nice.
This is a glamorous house, lavish even, but not that ostentatious. It doesn't brag. It belongs.
They may have had to fight wind and sand to construct this building, but finished, it really is as one with its surroundings, enveloped by the sand dunes, quietly overlooking the sea, and inside, super warm and luxurious.
We've seen one hard-to-build contender. 4 more to go before we find out which of them are shortlisted for the 2022 RIBA House of the Year award. Lots of us dream of renovating or restoring a period home, but it is never easy. It is hard work researching the history of a place. Harder still, of course, labouring to conserve and repair all those original bits. But hardest of all is how you keep the spirit of a place alive.
Luckily, a bit of hard work didn't deter our next hard-to-build house, tucked away in a remote corner of Derbyshire.
What a thing.
This is Ravine House, a meticulous renovation of a 55-year-old bungalow that hums with the authentic spirit of the 60s. There's an original hardwood ceiling, retro built-in wardrobes, even a reconstructed 1960s carpet. It's been, respectfully, brought into the 21st century by Ian and his wife, who inherited the building 5 years ago.
It is quite a special house. It's one of a very small number of houses that have survived relatively untouched, but in need of some attention. The roof was about to fail. There was no heating in half the house. There was very little insulation. The windows were on the last legs. Apart from that, it was perfect.
The original bungalow has been sensitively updated and extended. At one end is a rectangular bedroom wing, connected to a hexagonal block containing an entrance hall and living room, topped by a mezzanine study. Beyond that, the kitchen and dining area flow into a new geometric sunken garden room.
Hello, Ian.
Hello, Kevin.
Good to meet you. The architecture is very exciting. It's clearly not new.
No, it was in my wife's family for a long time. Built by her stepfather's father.
I'm guessing that the copper box, is that original?
It's a replica of what was there originally.
Really? Yeah. Really? So it was there?
It was there.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, big central kind of conning tower almost, you know.
Yeah, it does look like a bit like an air traffic controller's tower.
Yeah, it's terrific.
Yeah, and that was the influence for some of the other work we've done on the house.
The extension and 2 towering new chimneys are clad in the same gleaming copper in dialogue with the original 60s bricks. The RIBA judges admired the deft way new elements have been stitched onto the old here, while every possible original feature has been attentively preserved. To step inside is to take a step back in time.
Whoa, into this is a symphony of 60s. It's terrific.
Yeah, we like it.
Yeah, I mean, this great big folded fan of a ceiling. It's complex.
Yeah, and it was one of the trickiest parts of the build to preserve it.
The original 60s ceiling was crafted from piranha pine, a Brazilian hardwood now critically endangered.
It's totally replaceable. This couldn't get wet.
Yeah.
But to insulate the drafty, cold original building, the roof needed to come off, potentially exposing the wood to the elements and posing a problem for Ian and his builders.
As part of the build process, we built a tent of scaffolding all over the house. So essentially, we built an aircraft hangar over the house.
Over the whole building.
Then the insulation went on top of the wood panelling, then the membranes, and then the roof went on.
No wood was damaged, and the result is groovy. The ceiling makes a key contribution to the feeling of historical authenticity here, as do the fixtures and fittings.
We were very careful about what we put in. The tables here are original. Door handles are very similar to what was there original. The lights in this room were always there. The lights in the dining room were in the shed for 25 years were rewired and put back in where they should be.
You're describing the building as if it were an 18th century Grade 1 listed home. I mean, do you think if it had been an 18th century house that you would have leaped with the same gusto?
I don't know, because it's not a time period I've lived through or appeals to me. I'm a child of the 60s and I can remember the early 70s.
Yeah, so there's a degree of nostalgia in a way for that, yeah.
This is next-level nostalgia. Not content with finding the closest matches he could for 60s furnishings, when Ian found a scrap of original carpet, he couldn't resist asking a factory to laboriously recreate it.
It really was a really small piece of carpet. It was a specific design that they wanted. They were very, very specific. But colour matching isn't always easy because the carpet will have faded and the colours were really old.
But match them they did before weaving an identical copy in full 60s Technicolor using a 100-year-old loom. The effort that's been poured into preserving the past here is astonishing. In the bedroom wing, original wardrobes have been lovingly coaxed back to life. Above the living room, there's a retro mezzanine office overlooking an authentic bar, stocked, of course, with period drinks.
I was about 8 years old when this house was built in 1967. I think that was when I tasted my first snowball. Brandy, egg yolk, lemonade, and a little cherry on the top. Through our built world, we connect to our own pasts, and we all love it. We all engage with it in whatever way. We all find our route back. And this one, this is great. This is Route 66, isn't it?
But Ravine House doesn't just look to the past. Beneath its 60s clothing, this is a highly energy-efficient 21st century home. Thick insulation has been cleverly hidden inside every wall and every joint made airtight. No mean feat in this complicated, irregular polygon of a building, which now has a new geometric extension, housing a 60s-style conversation pit.
Oh, my word! Is this the extension? How phenomenal.
It's a lovely space.
What does it principally get used for? I'm speaking in 1960s language now, in the spirit of the building. So is this for pre-dinner drinks or after-dinner digestif?
So the original plan was people would sort of start their evening with you here and then move to the dining area and then move to the lounge for after-dinner drinks.
After dinner.
But everyone just migrates back here. It's fabulous in the winter. You get these windows just become this huge black void.
Wow.
Far out. Just like the psychedelic colour scheme.
How on earth did you land on tangerine as the colour?
I think it's a very 60s colour, isn't it? It was never going to be avocado, was it?
Well, it could have been. I mean, avocado sweets were just 8 or 10 years prior.
Yeah. I think you had to go big or go bust on this. It had to be a statement.
If you've ever enjoyed visiting a National Trust house, then you will know the importance of narrative in conserving and looking after our historic heritage. The importance of telling the story of buildings and adding the occasional new chapter without messing around with the old. That's exactly what's happened here. I mean, everybody involved has become passionate about the late 1960s door handles and knobs. They've added a new chapter of its time. They have revitalized the old building, repaired it lovingly, kept as much as possible, while at the same time re-insulating it and bringing it into the 21st century. And as a result, the whole thing is completely revitalized, ready to be admired and revered. That's 2 houses that are reaping the rewards of hard graft. But there are 3 more to see before we discover which of these challenging projects are worthy of a place on this year's House of the Year shortlist. I don't know about you, but I embark on every new DIY project in a spirit of renewed optimism, only for that optimism to evaporate when I discover I don't have enough screws, or indeed the talent. So imagine a little DIY project growing into something so big it consumes your entire life. It's the stuff of nightmares.
That's what happened to the owners of our next long-listed house. Natasha has come to the spectacular landscape of West Stirlingshire in Scotland to see a self-built project that tested the limits of human endurance.
Oh, it's really striking. It kind of just hits you. Very unexpected.
This is Ostro Passive House, a beautiful box of a building, all perfectly crisp geometric angles clad in impossibly neat diagonal strips of larch. With an interior that's just as uncompromising. It's an airtight, super low energy home, super tricky to build. All the more remarkable that it was crafted by its owners, Vari, an architect, and Martin, a designer, in their spare time.
We thought it would maybe take about 2 years, and it ended up taking us 6 years on site.
It was difficult to build. We had to sacrifice quite a lot, but I think we can look back fondly, but also some things that were tough, but painful.
This box-like house is arranged around another box. It conceals the staircase and all the services for the house. Behind it, on the ground floor, is a guest bedroom and bathroom, while an open-plan kitchen, dining and living area wraps around the front. Upstairs, there's a generous ensuite main bedroom, second guest bedroom, and a home office.
Hi, Martin. Hi, Barry.
It's lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. Your house is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The angles just shoot towards the sky. They're amazing. Just makes this beautiful kind of sculptural shape.
Yeah, well, that's what we wanted, to have this kind of really contemporary sort of architectural building.
Every inch of it was handmade by Martin and Vari, working to a challenging budget.
We started the job with about 180,000. That's why we did a lot of sort of self-built things ourselves, like the cladding we chose to do ourselves because that was probably going to blow the budget if we got anyone to do that for us.
The cladding is so precise. I mean, that must have taken you ages.
So we did 5,500 metres of cladding, 10,000 nails. So it took about 4 years overall, doing a side a summer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that long.
I think the most difficult thing was probably the sort of motivational aspect and pushing yourselves to continue every weekend and every evening we had.
So how were you able to mix your job and do the cladding at the same time, if it took you that long?
We found we were just doing a lot of juggling, basically working on the house where we could and then work during the day and just had to kind of make it work, really.
Keep each other going.
So social life, that kind of thing.
What's that?
Yeah, it took a bit of a nosedive for a few years while we were getting the house mainly built.
Worth every arduous minute, I'd say. The interior, open-plan kitchen, living room and TV area is the result of just as much blood, sweat and tears.
It's really dramatic.
Thanks.
Thank you. Martin did all of the joinery and I stained it all. I did all the kind of decorating.
On top of completely designing the whole thing themselves. There are smart solutions to problems everywhere. To define spaces in this double-height open-plan room, they've positioned some under lower ceilings for intimacy. The RIBA judges admired the clever layout and the eye-catching object in the centre of the room, the core.
So what goes on within this core?
So the core is really central to the organisation of the house. So that was really the main idea, to kind of keep everything we could in the middle of the house, our kitchen and our bathrooms and so on, as well as our stair, and then have all the rooms around the outside so that all the spaces got the light and the view and so on.
It serves another function too in this minimal house. Storage.
So this is where we keep other bits and pieces.
Wow, look at that. And are they all drawers?
Yep, the first 7 are all drawers built into the staircase.
It's very organised, my goodness. You can see how the black box is working so hard for you. I took it every single space is something.
It's used, yeah, exactly. Storage tucked into every corner.
There are hiding places for everything here. Bookcases to keep small animals on. Cupboards to store gin.
Oh, wow. That is brilliant.
And Vari and Martin have taken just as much care over the bits of the house you can't see. They set themselves the difficult task of making this place a super-insulated, totally airtight, passive house, meaning barely any energy is needed to heat it. Though they haven't totally eliminated the need for lighting on the staircase up to the first floor anyway.
You're just enveloped in black. So do you struggle in the mornings when you're bleary-eyed to make out the steps?
Even though it is dark, there's still quite a lot of light coming from different places, you know, coming from the windows and the roof light and so on, so.
Oh, it's really bright when you get up here.
Yeah, it's a nice contrast.
I'll say, you're thrown from a dark tunnel into an extraordinary light-filled bedroom which connects to the outside.
Oh, wow, these views. Absolutely amazing. It's just full of light.
We did want to kind of have that sort of view at the end of a route. You know, when you came into the room, you got a sort of glimpse of the landscape and then it opens up.
And beautiful curtain as well.
It just hides all our wardrobe, hides all our stuff.
Oh, that's beautiful. This building is a testament to Martin and Vari's endurance, rigour and care. They've gone the extra mile, not only to design a passive house, but to build it. They could have ended up with a soulless, energy-efficient box, but instead they have a beautiful, functional home that's an exemplary model for environmental design.
It took Michelangelo 4 years to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Just think, with a roller, he could have been out of there in a week. But wouldn't the world be a drab place if we all just took the easy route?
Not a path our next house could be accused of taking. Damien's in rural Dorset to see it.
This is very eye-catching and very playful.
This is the Red House. With bricks that are trying to head off in different directions, walls that bend and curve, and a staircase that's, well, nuts. It's as mind-boggling a work of postmodern art as I've ever seen.
Lovely, thank you.
It's home to Edward and his husband and daughter. They're modern art enthusiasts who've built a house as bold as any contemporary artwork and as controversial.
Just after we moved in, we were sitting in the study with the window fractionally open, and one of our neighbours came walking past with another neighbour down the lane, and in what could politely be described as a stage whisper, said, "It's hard to imagine anything less appropriate for the site," and walked on. Hello.
Edward, how are you doing?
Well, thank you. How are you?
Very good, very good. I mean, this is punchy.
It's designed to be a playful house and definitely surprising.
The detailing on the outside, you've chosen every single type of brick arrangement that you could throw at the house.
The patterning on the bricks, the alternation of the different sections, provides an extra level of interest, and that was extremely difficult to execute.
One single brick out of place, and it stands out.
It was horrific, but I'm glad we did it.
Somehow, handmade, uneven bricks have been persuaded to lie in perfect, straight, horizontal courses that line up precisely with upright ones, even as they bend round curves. The shapes of the building are just as mesmerizing. It has oversized chimneys, an exaggerated pitched roof, and huge oversailing eaves, picked out in an unexpected color.
The shade of green that you've gone for.
It's a really bright shade of green. That helps it just stand out from a distance. It feels quite shocking to people, But I think if it just disappeared into the landscape, then I think it would be failing.
Disappearing into the landscape is certainly not something you could accuse it of.
Red House cuts a striking, long, rectangular figure. On the ground floor, a series of semi-open plan living areas flow off a central corridor, separated by functional spaces, including a pantry and a lift. Upstairs, there are 4 ensuite bedrooms, a study, and a laundry room. If you thought the outside was ambitious, then step this way.
Wow. This is lovely.
Inside, you're greeted by a staggeringly complex staircase, which takes straight pieces of ash and makes them bend round impossibly tight curves.
It is beautiful. It's a lovely sort of serpentine form. That's not an easy thing to build.
I think it was the most complicated thing that the joiner has ever built in his life. This had to be constructed off-site, first of all as a model, and then constructed and then brought in here in sections and completed here. You're naturally drawn to it. You know, you just want to go and touch it. You want to put your hands on the handrails.
The sumptuous staircase delighted the RIBA judges, who also praised the way the spaces have been tailored to the owner's needs, both now and in the future.
Both my parents died from different degenerative neurological illnesses, so it's all just designed to make it more suitable for accessible living. We have door handles, not door knobs. The light switches are in positions where you can easily use them.
No doors, all open plan, nice wide corridors. Everything looks like, should you need to, you could get around each of the spaces very, very easily.
No doors could mean no privacy, but the clever design of Red House creates intimate corners to retreat to. A wall bulges out to form a curved dining space, opposite a simple kitchen area, defined by banks of storage either side. As you wander the central hall, you catch glimpses of these connected spaces, but never a full view thanks to a cunning architectural trick.
By simply offsetting the doorways and the walls along what could have been a very grand corridor, means that open plan just doesn't end up becoming lots of open space.
This house is built on a modest human scale from modest, simple materials. The floors are robust larch blocks, the walls painted concrete, the windows standard sizes. All part of the architect David Conn's master plan.
We were quite interested in making a house that was quite ordinary in some ways. It's a red brick rectangular house with a big pitched roof, and it's almost like a child's conception of what a house would look like. But there's a lot of care in all the details. So I think the point we're making is that perhaps ordinary things can be special.
There are then special moments everywhere. A symmetrical special study on the landing. Special porthole windows in the bathroom. But most special of all is the main bedroom's magnificent ceiling.
This is your reward for your journey up through the house, this enormous, high vaulted ceiling, and that's really just gives you this wow factor as you walk in and see it for the first time.
It does. I mean, it really does. It makes it feel much more sumptuous.
It looks tented. It's a very clever way of achieving softness with very hard materials.
Solid plaster draped to look like fabric. Concrete blocks bent round corners. Brickwork that defies the laws of physics. It's perhaps no surprise that the Red House took more than 2 years to build.
This house was certainly designed to challenge. It was certainly designed to pull your hair out. Look at it now. It was so worth my time. Every single detail of this building has been planned out and fought hard to get and design and build. It's just stunning. It's fine art.
And like fine art, this building won't be to everyone's taste. But you can't help but stand in awe at the skill and workmanship that have gone into making it.
This house achieves everything that it's set out to do. It's a modern, provocative piece of architecture. And no matter what you think of it, well, it certainly demands your attention.
We've now marvelled at 4 beautiful houses, all built against the odds. There's still one more to explore before we learn which the RIBA judges deem worthy of the shortlist for the 2022 House of the Year Award. There is a great satisfaction in overcoming the obstacles of life. Although, when they keep coming at you, I have to say, you do flag. What you need is grit and will and determination to reach your goals. Oh, really? Must be nearly lunchtime. Wow.
Our last hard-to-build longlister in northeast London presented a series of difficult challenges to overcome. The first, how to do something fresh on this road of traditional Victorian homes.
That is like nothing else on this street or in this neighbourhood. That is very different.
This is Leighton House. A home that cuts a dashing contemporary figure with an elegant, larch-clad, boxy outside and sleek, open-plan, minimal interior. A spacious basement runs the length of the modest plot. It contains a study and den lit by a hidden light well, a bathroom and a spare bedroom. Above that, there's an open-plan kitchen, dining and living space. Then, on the first floor, there's a luxurious main suite with a dressing room. The architect tasked with trying to get this extraordinary cutting-edge home through planning was Louise McMahon.
Hello, you Louise?
I am Louise.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
So this building isn't very much of the 21st century, but is that what the planners were hoping to see?
No, the planners wanted to have a sort of mock Victorian house.
OK.
So the planners brought us a photograph of a Victorian house that they wanted us to replicate.
To look like one of those, basically, with fiddly twiddles and bay windows and...
Exactly, exactly. But that's what we didn't want to do that. We wanted it to be a contemporary home.
OK, how did the conversation go from there?
We just worked with the planners and they did embrace it in the end.
How long?
2 years to get planning.
2 years?
Yeah.
Wow! A 2-year to and fro, but one so worth having. What Louise has created on the inside is just as extraordinary. You walk into one big, open-plan living, kitchen and dining space.
Well, I love looking down this building. I mean, the colours and the palettes, it's all very beautiful. You're looking from outside right down to the other end of the building, and it's kind of just pulling you, you know?
The RIBA judges praised Leighton House for its quality of workmanship and its exceptionally calm and comfortable interior. Glamorous as it looks now, though, none of this was effortless. Louise faced the challenge of a constrained budget, which demanded creative thinking.
Everywhere, plywood doors and cupboards, which I imagine you just bought.
So we just ordered a pallet of Douglas fir, and then we just used standard carcasses, and then the builder then just cut all the door fronts out of that, which made it much cheaper to do.
Not only the doors, the beautiful concrete worktop too.
It was a builder did all of that work himself, so he shuttered it all and then cast it all and ground it all on site and then sealed it.
Did he? Basically, the builder did all this?
Yes, he did, yeah.
That's remarkable. So not huge cost then?
You can create an amazing home within, you know, a tight budget. It doesn't have to be a bog standard up to down house. We haven't used expensive materials, it's just being honest.
So cheap brick, standard section timbers, or these 4x4 posts.
Yeah.
But actually then all lifted with oil, with clever pointing, with a nice finish, you know, care and a bit of craftsmanship.
Yes.
It sort of, and all in the same palette as well.
Yeah.
It's very nicely done.
The simple use of materials continues upstairs. In the master bedroom, pink clay plaster dappled by shadows needs no more decoration. But for me, the cleverest idea in this house is in the basement, which doubles the building's floor area while elegantly hurdling the difficulty of lighting such a vast subterranean space.
We are underground, and yet, oh my goodness, what a great set of spaces. And this wrapping around this huge light well.
It just means then that all the spaces that are around it get so much natural light.
Yes.
And also it feels, sometimes when you're in here, it feels very much like an oasis because you can't really hear much of the noise outside.
The basement was perhaps the hardest thing to build in this house.
The inevitable, we found water.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Was it in a pipe or was it just literally just a ground spring?
It was just, we don't really know. We'd never got to the bottom of it. We were expecting water to be 6 metres below ground and we got it at sort of 1.5 metres, 2 metres. So it was, so the guys had to work in quite extreme conditions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had to constantly pump it so that they could then carry on doing the rest of their excavation and underpinning.
Getting to that point of resolution is a messy business.
It's a messy business. It's time-consuming.
Yeah.
It's sort of costly, and also you just have to persevere.
And thank goodness they did persevere. This is a house that deserved to be finished.
I do like this place. I mean, not just for what it is, but also for what it represents and means. It is living proof that great ideas can win, that the design process can yield beautiful results, and that ordinary materials can be elevated through craftsmanship and care. Oh, and it is also living proof that all these things are really worth fighting for. There we have it. 5 beautiful buildings that prove hard work pays off in spades. But which of them will be shortlisted for the 2022 Royal Institute of British Architects House of the Year Award?
Will the list include Sea Breeze, pretty in pink but tough enough to survive in its hostile environment? Ravine House, the beautiful but unlivable 60s bungalow lovingly restored to vitality. Austro Passive House, extreme DIY, executed with meticulous care. The Red House, the masterwork that pushed its craftsmen to their limits. Or Leighton House, contemporary cool with an underground secret. Taro Tsuruta, chair of the judging panel, has the verdict.
What's the first project that you shortlisted then?
Sea Breeze.
Sea Breeze. Why is that on the shortlist?
Of the long list, this is the most difficult site to build. There is no access. Constant battle, so bringing sand out of the site. However, client and architect had a sort of courage and then the optimistic spirit, and they went for it.
So this really is representative of that human spirit to triumph.
Yeah, it's adventurous and then playful, and that's really perfectly suited to a British seaside.
It does look like it's been sculpted from blackcurrant ice cream.
Yeah, yeah, that's nice.
That's amazing, incredible. I'm quite shocked. I mean, not shocked because the house is just incredible, but oh, that's brilliant.
Our little compact beach house is, that's very amazing to hear. Yeah, I was not expecting to hear that.
So, Sea Breeze is on the shortlist, but there's room for one more hard-to-build home.
So, you've got another project shortlisted in this category. What is it?
Red House.
Red House.
This house looks ordinary, but actually it's very extraordinary. For example, there's all conventional building material.
Yeah.
But then they are bespoke. The red brick is specially made for this project. Also, they use the bricks not only laid on a flat, it's actually laid on vertically.
Yeah, and they're not easy to lay.
No.
The craftsmanship applied to simple materials.
Yes.
It's taking the everyday and ennobling it.
Yes, simple material, crafted, executed, very special and very wow.
Has it really? Wow, that's amazing. Oh, I'm surprised. I'm really delighted. That is brilliant. Wow, thank you.
That's fantastic. Yeah, delighted. Yeah, it's a labour of love. So it's wonderful to have that recognised. Yeah.
So, the contest continues, with Sea Breeze and the Red House taking the first 2 places on the shortlist. 5 more will join them before we find out which home will be the RIBA House of the Year 2022.
These houses stand as proof that if you are prepared to embrace difficulty, to run towards a challenge rather than away from it, then the rewards can be incalculable. You don't just get a stunning house by the sea or a beautiful modernist mansion. You get something else, because the very process of doing difficult things is transformative. It can change you as a person.
Next time, we'll explore houses that are of themselves incredible transformations.
Oh, wow. It's like 2 different buildings.
It is, yeah.
5 more homes to inspire wonder.
That's a crazy world of wonky, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all over the place.
And awe.
I have never seen a barn that looks kind of that glorious.
I spend my life in high vis, on building sites, up to my knees in mud, clambering over scaffolding. But once a year, I can slip into something more glamorous, escape the mud and the rain, and enter a strange parallel universe of beautiful, finished buildings.
These awe-inspiring homes are on the long list for the Royal Institute of British Architects House of the Year Award.
It's like being on a ship about to set sail across the Norfolk landscape.
So far, we've examined houses that were hard to build.
So essentially, we built an aircraft hangar over the house.
Goodness me.
Today, we're looking at 5 buildings that have transformed existing structures.
It's a dramatic change.
It's beautiful.
Extraordinary new homes that reuse and reimagine old bones.
That's a crazy world of wonky, isn't it?
There's no real straight edge in this building at all.
Well, yeah.
At the end of this episode, we'll learn which of these spectacular houses have made the judges' shortlist.
Has it really? Wow, that's amazing.
Then, at the end of the series, 1 home will win the most prestigious prize for residential architecture in the UK.
So, throw away your wellies and your waterproofs and join me on the hunt to find the Royal Institute of British Architects House of the Year 2022.
So far in this series, the RIBA has promoted 2 houses to the shortlist. Sea Breeze, the glamorous beach hut built to withstand gale-force winds and sandstorms. And the Red House, a meticulously crafted reimagining of a typical red brick home. But 5 more long-listed buildings are waiting to be explored.
The houses in this category have all undergone incredible transformations. Like Clark Kent stepping into a phone box, they started out ordinary and unremarkable before emerging bigger, stronger, and far, far more handsome. Whether they conjure luxury from a humble hovel or breathe new life into crumbling ruins, these architectural shapeshifters show that even the most unpromising raw material can, in the right hands, be spun into gold.
Snooping around these fairy tale transformations with me are the architect Damien Burrows,
It's a huge opening, isn't it? No, I could fly across here.
The conservation architect, Natasha Huck. And the design expert, Michelle Agundahin, who's in rural West Sussex, on the trail of our first Transformer project. Here, once upon a time, there stood a rusty old barn owned by Paul and Pauline.
I grew up living here on the farm. The barn itself, of course, was all about haymaking. Haymaking was a huge job every summer.
Come down here, help Pauline's dad loading up tractor, trailers full of hay and also stacking it in the barn.
Yeah, really, really happy times.
These days, Paul and Pauline run their business from the family farm. It's a visitor attraction, a beautiful 8-acre garden designed and planted by them. Like the grounds of a stately home, without the grand house. Until now. This is the Dutch barn, the result of a magical transformation from humble hayloft to sophisticated home. It is dressed all in timeless black, with a sleek curved roof, a comfortable, luxurious place for Paul and Pauline to live and work.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. Amazing transformation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have never seen a barn that looks kind of that glorious because it's super, super slick. How did you get the roof to be so kind of slender?
Managed to hide the insulation on the inside so you don't end up with a thickened roof like you do in some of these conversions.
Yeah, so you keep that lovely, fine look to it. Very sort of sleek and simple, really, because it's a simple, humble farm building. And always we were thinking that it has to fit into its agricultural landscape and be true to itself, really.
And what could be more agricultural than a rusty old grain silo? Except this one is brand new, with a very different function.
What do you use it for?
Well, the garden's laid out in a large nautilus shell shape, and it's so big that you can't really appreciate that from within the garden. So we thought what you need is a viewing tower, and what better shape than to sort of replicate a grain silo.
Yeah, so it sort of fits into the scene quite naturally. It's really you just having a bit of a play, isn't it? This is the fun bit. Well, of course. Well, who wouldn't want to have a tower?
Of course, especially one attached to a barn as beautiful as this. The ground floor now contains 2 guest bedrooms and a bathroom, the main bedroom suite and an office. Upstairs, a walkway connects the tower with the main house, where there is now a large open-plan kitchen and living area.
So it's an upside-down house.
Yes.
So it is.
This glamorous living space wowed the RIBA judges, who praised the skillful way the architect has made it feel grand, yet intimate. There is bespoke joinery to define zones for a cosy sitting area and a workspace at one end. And a slick 21st century stainless steel topped kitchen at the other. But this luxurious barn hasn't forgotten its humble origins.
There are some barn conversions where you kind of think, why did you bother having the barn? Because it's so different inside, but it still feels very authentic. You know, we're not trying to be pretentious, and I just love the simplicity of it.
The floor especially links back to more agricultural, industrial look. It's called bandsawn oak, and as you wander around in your bare feet, it's like having a foot massage.
While you enjoy your free foot rub, don't forget to look up and marvel at the majestic curved ceiling that sails overhead.
We wanted to keep the structure visible as much as possible.
Because I have this memory of being in this barn, precariously balanced on the hay bales, but up in this fabulous lofty space.
The exposed red-painted trusses have all the charm of the originals, but are in fact new copies, precision-engineered to support the new super-warm insulated roof. Downstairs, there are 3 cosy bedrooms and an office. all wrapped in weatherproof wrinkled zinc, punctured by big, beautiful windows, placed seemingly at random.
Traditionally, these buildings are very ad hoc in character. They're sort of patch repaired with materials that are lying around, and they're not formally designed or composed. So, we're keen to have that loose composition within the building as well. So, ironically, I suppose, a lot of thought going into making it look slightly undesigned.
The jewel in the crown of this artfully undesigned building is, of course, the grain silo that's not a grain silo. It was made not from high-end Corten weathering steel, but from the ordinary mild variety.
I guess it took about 3 months, something like that. It's quite a big thing, but you start, like everything, you start with a single step, and you go from there. It's basically a bolt-together job. It's sort of Meccano.
And like all good toys, this Meccano tower was made for sharing.
Oh, this is nice.
An internal staircase gives visitors to the garden direct access to the tower and the chance to admire the barn at very close quarters.
Because your business is a public garden and your house is like right at the heart of it, do sometimes people not realise that it's your home?
Yeah, I think they often don't.
I have caught them peering in right into the window of our bedroom, so that is rather funny.
I mean, I think it'd be hard not to. I mean, it's right there, isn't it?
Well, we don't mind. I mean, we're sharing our whole life and our garden with people all the time. And I think, we like to be generous with what we have. We're so lucky to have this amazing space, and it's so wonderful that we can share it with people.
The original barn was special for the memories it held and this incredible location, but it no longer had a function. Turning it into a home was then the perfect transformation. After all, it's often said that the meaning of life is to find your gift, but the purpose of life is to give that away, which is what Paul and Pauline have so generously done.
We've seen one dazzling transformation, but there are 4 more to explore before we learn which of them have been shortlisted for House of the Year 2022. If you can't decide whether or not you're going to take on the challenge of transforming a doer-upper, fixer-upper, then it really helps to learn to speak estate agent-ese. So, in need of modernisation. You see, that means it's got an avocado bathroom suite and no central heating. Ripe for renovation, that just means there's a hole in the roof. And bags of potential. Wow, I mean, that just means think of a budget and double it. No, triple it. I don't know what even the most optimistic estate agent would say about our next project.
I've come to find it in a Northamptonshire village where it's hiding behind a pretty Georgian cottage.
Oh, yes. That tells me I'm in the right place. It's rather stonking.
This is the Parchment Works. A ruined 16th century paper factory rebooted as an exquisite, ethereal extension with delicate new glass walls deftly stitching together a patchwork of beautiful old stonework and reclaimed bricks. But when Charlie and Jane bought this Grade 2 listed property, what lurked behind the main house was a crumbling mess.
I thought the place was being held up by ivy. All the floors had collapsed, no ceiling. What windows had been there were completely rotted.
It's so hard to believe how bad they were. It just stood empty for so long.
I think that was the thing that really put other people off buying it, because it was just too risky, too much work.
But Charlie and Jane had a secret weapon. Their son, Will, an architect who has masterminded a radical transformation here.
Welcome. Thank you very much. It's a really, really interesting place. It spools back into a crazy mixture of kind of theatrical Gothic and actually very modern build.
Yeah, hopefully quite successfully.
I should say so. The new extension has been built within the remains of two outbuildings that backed onto the main house. A former cattle shed now contains a kitchen downstairs and a main bedroom above. Behind that is the parchment factory itself. There's a single-storey living and dining area topped by a generous balcony, which Will has slotted inside the centuries-old walls.
Now I can see the extent of your work as represented by those two rusty bars.
Correct, yes. Two sort of lightweight glass boxes sat within the ruined walls with this ribbon of corten that runs over the top.
This delicate, subtle building within a building cleverly transforms the ruins into a home, while barely displacing a single Grade 2 listed stone.
The project was all about kind of striking the right balance between making this building a habitable building that people can live in and enjoy, whilst retaining the historic value of it. The challenge was to retain the original character of the ruin as much as possible, but obviously there were parts where we had to intervene. We had to repoint the walls to make them structurally sound.
So lots of lime mortar.
Huge amount of lime mortar.
Much of the carefully restored stonework has been left in its ruined form, making a courtyard full of drama.
It's a bit like the clashing gates in Jason the Argonauts, you know?
Yeah, a bit like Passing of the Seas in some respects, yeah.
Across the threshold is a calm, contemporary living and dining area.
Oh, this is very different and very good.
The RIBA judges praised the elegant way old and new materials have been introduced to each other and encouraged to make friends. 21st century glazing slots seamlessly into ancient stone walls. Simple new timber windows are topped by ancient reclaimed oak beams. And within the transformed cowshed, a slick angular kitchen sits comfortably beneath a ceiling that's anything but.
That's a crazy world of wonky, isn't it? That's your old ceiling, which is...
Yeah, this is the original ceiling, yet it's all over the place. Because if you haven't realised, there's no real straight edge in this building at all.
Well, yeah.
The building's many wobbly bits required delicate handling during construction, especially during the groundworks phase.
The thickest part of the structural slab is actually set centrally in the room, and that meant that the slab could be thinner along the edges, so that when we were excavating around the ruined walls, we only excavated to a very low depth, so that we didn't undermine the foundations of the ruined walls, causing them to collapse.
That's a very nice engineering solution. In the middle of the room, you put a deep, solid foundation.
Yeah.
And then you created a sort of thinning...
Yeah, exactly. It
slab.
tapered towards the edges, because the last thing we wanted to do was the ruins to collapse and fall in on us, because that would have been a crying shame.
Exactly.
Thankfully, not a stone was harmed. And Will's careful conservation efforts haven't just preserved the building, but its stories too.
I noticed on this beam, there's a great big nail.
Yeah. Our brief to the builder was, whatever's there, keep as much as you possibly can. I mean, there are rusty nails on all of these walls where they used to tie animals up to it. There's a load of what we think might have been lime paint that's been thrown over one of the ruined walls. The builder was determined to scrub it off. We briefed him, absolutely not.
Did your parents like that idea of keeping?
Initially, no. I mean, it goes against most people's ways of thinking, right? We're doing something brand new here. Why would we want to leave it dirty and marked?
It might be marked by time, but there's nothing scruffy here. The upper floor of the cowshed now houses an elegant main bedroom with some exposed timber rafters. It opens onto a smart, understated glass-edged balcony. All this is the result of an arduous one-year project, made all the harder by the fact that Will and his team were being watched.
An archaeologist had to sit in his deck chair and look at the builders to make sure that they were restoring the ruin as they should, and also make sure that they didn't unearth anything of any archaeological value as they were excavating around it.
Yeah.
But they did find something. An ancient stone bath once used as part of the parchment-making process.
When we discovered it, it was fully intact.
In that position?
Yeah, in that position.
Because normally when people have an archaeologist, they expect to find a spoon.
Yes.
You know, or
and they get very excited about the spoon.
1940s HP sauce bottle. But this is something else.
It was a bit of a find, yeah. By absolute luck, it lined through with that window at the end. I can't lay claim to that. That is purely by chance.
Yeah, well, isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, bit of providence. I think this is beautiful, this place. I think it's beautiful because of the way that it manages two quite competing agendas. One is the historical approach where everything is conserved and repaired and there's so much detail and there's a danger of being engulfed by fiddly twiddle. And the other approach where the modern is introduced, which can threaten the old. It can be blisteringly aggressive. Here, well, this building treads a fine golden line between them. And the result is something quite delicate, quite romantic, in fact. Two bewitching transformations down, but there are still 3 more to see before we discover which of them make the 2022 House of the Year shortlist. The UK has some of the oldest housing stock on the planet. Millions of us live in houses built before the First World War. It was an age then of coal scuttles, chamber pots and mutton chop whiskers. So, how can we successfully upgrade and transform these homes that were built for a different age?
Our next longlister was built for the age of the horse and carriage. Damien's looking for one of London's many 19th century mews houses, former stables and coach houses which have been converted now into homes, though not always warm or comfortable ones.
Everybody loves their charm and character on the exterior, but come the winter months, that love affair can often turn, well, to despair.
But not here. This is Mews House Deep Retrofit. A sleek, light-filled 21st century home with the warmth and ease of a 5-star hotel and the eco-credentials of the most energy-efficient new build. A corner staircase connects the ground floor open-plan cooking, eating and living area to a bathroom, the main bedroom and a family den above. On the top floor are 2 further bathrooms and 2 children's bedrooms. It's home to Eve, her husband James and their 2 young children. Before renovating the house, they lived in it for 2 years, time enough to discover the downsides of living in a poorly insulated Victorian conversion.
Eve, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Very good. Well, it looks magnificent from the outside. What was the problem with the house to start off with?
Though there was so much to love about the location and about the house itself, it just honestly wasn't particularly comfortable. There was a lot of draft, the windows were leaky, there were all these little fireplaces and flues and things. So if you stood too close to the windows on a windy day, you would literally feel your hair move.
But no longer.
Oh, this is lovely, isn't it?
You enter a cosy, draft-free, open-plan kitchen and living area that's as glamorous as it is energy efficient.
This is special. I really like it.
A radical eco-upgrade has reduced the building's overall energy consumption by a whopping 80%. But what really blew the RIBA judges away was how this has been achieved. Invisibly.
It doesn't, to me, feel like a house that's had massive interventions in terms of sustainability. I don't see really deep walls built out with insulation to bring the fabric up to the standard that it needs to be.
No, you're just living your life and not thinking about all of those eco pieces while the house is quietly working away in the background, which is great.
Instead of adding thick insulation, the air here has been dehumidified and the walls lightly upgraded with a thin layer of breathable insulating plaster. And the windows are just as discreet. Eve's architect has avoided chunky traditional double glazing by using an innovative slimline type, where the two panes are separated by a vacuum.
The windows are way more efficient than the single pane windows that we had before, but still look beautiful, and I think it's hard to tell if you don't know.
They do look remarkably thin. It looks stunning.
These and other cunningly hidden interventions leave you free to revel in the glamorous ground floor living space. The clever corner staircase leaves room for a spacious fumed oak and quartz kitchen and a luxurious and very grown-up family sitting room.
Family, kids, main living room, no TV.
No, well, actually, so these open out and the TV's hidden behind there.
Oh, nice, nice. I love, that's just like a little marriage of technology and craftsmanship together.
The happy marriage romps its way upstairs. Beautifully crafted joinery hides a laundry room on the landing. And timber-framed glass panels allow the comfortable family snug to borrow light from the toplit and vast stairwell.
I mean, it's a huge opening, isn't it? Look, this is my entire arm span. I could fly across here.
Yeah, please don't.
Were you never tempted to take some of this space and put it back into the rooms?
We talked at length about the amount of space that was going to basically be empty and lost as a result of having this big void. In the end, we felt like being able to open this out would add so much to the feeling and experience of the house.
I think you've got that balance exactly right.
The staircase isn't the only leap of faith that's paid off here. To make a house as functional and beautiful as this meant boldly embracing sweeping change.
You've basically taken this house and just hollowed it out.
We took it down just to 4 exterior brick walls at one stage. There were no floors and there was no ceiling. It was terrifying. And you think, oh my God, what have we done?
What Eve and her architects have done is to strip out all the piecemeal changes that have been made to this house over the decades and provide clarity. But they haven't forgotten its history. The earthy spirit of this former stable lives on in the beautiful oak joinery. Tom Graham spent 11 months crafting the extraordinary staircase.
For each of the slats, and we would have to cut the specific angle onto each one, cut a chamfer to create the correct shadow gap, and then sand all of these, multiplied by sort of 900 odd times. When I looked down over the stairs, I had a real moment of just sort of, wow, we've really created quite an incredible thing here.
An incredible staircase for an incredible building.
Muse House is a shining example, light-filled and spatially deceptive, of how we can respect the past whilst also protecting the future.
Oh, sorry, just working from home. Of course, something that we're all doing these days. A lot of us have transformed bits of our homes into places to work. Perhaps your kitchen table does double duty as a desk, or maybe you've set up shop in the spare room, or if you're lucky, you've converted the garden shed. I don't know. But not all home offices are created equal.
Hello, how can I help you?
Oh, sorry, wrong number. Sorry.
Our next long lister might just be the ultimate home office. It lies in the garden of a private house, in an outbuilding that was once part of a working farm.
You see, this simple-looking shed hides an interior like no other.
This is the cowshed, and it looks like one. But inside, it's been transmogrified into a fantastical library of dreams. Beautiful, classical, and refined. Working from home has never looked so good. At the center of the reinvented shed is the library, which doubles as a bedroom, flanked by a generous study and a kitchen, a lobby, and a bathroom. The cowshed's transformation was the vision of the architect Aidan Crawshaw.
Morning, Aidan.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Can you describe the building as it was when you found it?
That was a farm building, and it was, there was actually a tractor in it. It was just an outbuilding shed which had just had things sort of dumped into it, totally unloved for 50 years.
And it still looks like a very tidy shed, doesn't it? That's the point.
It is a surprise when you go in there.
That's a bit of an understatement.
This is great. I really like it.
It's a dramatic change.
It's also beautiful.
We wanted to do something which lived up to expectations, which is fabulous.
It is absolutely fabulous. Within the squat form of the cowshed, Aidan has magically stretched space, forming a towering vaulted ceiling that makes you feel you're in a church, not a farm building. This startling effect was made possible by some lateral or maybe vertical thinking.
We dug it out.
You've gone down 400 mil.
Exactly. But it had to be all dug out by hand with machine tools, but
yeah,
they worked so hard.
Wow.
Unbelievable. They were digging there for 2 months. And it completely changes the proportions on the inside.
Exactly.
The RIBA judges admired the cowshed's classical proportions and the clever way Aidan has left sections of the vaulted ceiling open to light the space. It's certainly sophisticated, but a closer look reveals a building that delights in its humbler origins.
But all this is very, very straightforward. It's not fine cabinet making. It seems that even the shelves, actually, the way they're set into the posts are kind of quite workaday.
We're trying to imagine how you would make things if you were on a farm,
yeah, with one chisel.
With chisels and saws.
So each shelf is slid into 2 sockets.
Exactly, yeah. Which actually comes from a design of a hay rack.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and all of the ironmongery is as similar as possible to what farm ironmongery would have been like, or is like, which is, sort of wrought iron hammered out in a smithy.
Made in a local forge, yeah.
The top of that pendant light, we got the builders just to make a black plate to go on there. So there's a kind of echo there, there's a kind of blacksmith's finish.
All these rustic touches endow the space with an authentic lived-in feel, and it is designed to be lived in. Beyond the library, there's a spacious office and oak-lined thunderbox, and a simple, practical kitchen. As for the books themselves, well, they are part of a first-rate collection.
I love libraries, particularly when they're full of books on architecture. Oh, look! Andrea Palladio. Perhaps the greatest architect that ever lived, who knows? This is beautiful. And this is what he says here. He says, no home in the modern age should be equipped with a widescreen television, a media room, or home cinema. Instead, the mark of a civilized house is a library. Amazing that he wrote that in 1547.
It's a maxim that this transformed cowshed lives up to, and that its owner, Natalie, takes great pleasure in.
When you come in, it's a bit of a wow, but it is not
over the top in any way.
Yeah.
It's not daunting. It's friendly. I find it's totally peaceful. I'm somebody who writes letters still, and this is a perfect place to write letters.
A library in a cowshed? It could have felt absurd. But instead, by putting her faith in an architect of great imagination, Natalie has built something magical.
I've always thought that you can learn a lot from books, but I didn't expect to learn so much from a library. I mean, what this place teaches me is that, well, as well as using sheds and outhouses for storing a lawnmower or pursuing a hobby or even turning into a granny annex, we can also use these buildings as adjuncts to our daily lives. I mean, taking things like cooking and eating, reading, and actually putting those activities into another building, sharing our lives across different spaces. We've now seen 4 astonishing conversion projects. Just one more to explore before we find out which of them the judges have selected for the 2022 House of the Year shortlist. Have you ever returned to your childhood home and been devastated to see it totally transformed, all the precious memories wiped away? I have. The buildings we love best hold our family histories in their walls. So, does that mean that we can ever alter them? Or might there be ways to renew and remodel them without erasing the past?
Our final long-listed transformation project might have the answer. Natasha's on the picturesque shores of the Kyles of Bute on the west coast of Scotland, where Shona's family has happy memories of a tiny flat on the top floor of a Victorian cottage.
My gran bought the property actually before I was born. My brothers and I spent all our childhood holidays here. There were 5 of us squeezed into a small room and kitchen, a bed under the eaves, a fold-down bed in the kitchen, and an outdoor toilet. And we had the best 2 weeks every year, every summer.
6 years ago, Shona inherited the flat, and soon after, the one below it came up for sale.
It seemed like the perfect opportunity just to do something completely different, to transform this place that we'd used for years into something a little bit bigger.
And transform it, they have, into the Den. A futuristic zinc cube wrapped around a breathtaking double-height space designed for 21st century living. But the memories of its past live on in its carefully conserved and exposed Victorian fabric. What was once 2 cramped flats is now a single spacious home. A basement now houses the bedroom and bathroom. Above that, the ground floor and first floor have been knocked through vertically, forming a vaulted open-plan cooking, dining and living space, topped by a mezzanine.
Hi, Shona.
Hi, pleased to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you too. Well, this is such a contrast to what's next door.
It used to look pretty much like the one next door, just smaller, until we got to work on it.
Outside, the old cottage is unrecognisable, but through the slick zinc-clad doorway, past and present collide.
Oh, wow. It's like 2 different buildings.
It is, yeah. I think people passing it looks like a new build, but inside it's got all these rich layers of textures and colours.
In the kitchen diner, all the interior walls and floors have been ripped out to reveal beautiful old sandstone, patched with contrasting contemporary brickwork. Original window openings are now topped with new concrete lintels and filled with sleek aluminium frames. And Victorian nooks and crannies have been given 21st century function.
That must be an old press, isn't it?
Yes.
A cupboard within a wall. So it's lovely just to see that being used again as storage.
Yeah, we've tried to use the features that are here and make use of them in a new way.
But this is more than just canny repurposing. All these carefully conserved old bits preserve the memory of the building's past life.
What's this fireplace in the middle of the wall?
That's where the original fireplace would have been upstairs.
Okay. You took the floor out of here to create this void. You just get so much light from that skylight.
It's brilliant.
The judges admired how the two flats have been boldly reconfigured to create this dramatic, lofty space. The key that unlocked this transformation is a clever piece of multitasking joinery that forms the staircase and holds all the services for the house.
Is this birch ply?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's lovely because it's really warm and it differs so much from the raw stonework.
It's almost like a piece of furniture which is slotted into the middle of the building. It hides all the things that you don't want people to see. So it's a kitchen here, there's a bathroom in behind.
That's so clever. It's working really hard.
It is, yeah.
The beautifully crafted staircase reaches down into the basement, now home to a simple but glamorous bedroom suite, and all the way up to the top of the house, where it turns into storage.
There's a lot of things hidden in here.
Can I look?
Maybe not.
Oh, it's so neat.
Up in the mezzanine studio, the den becomes a light-drenched lookout post.
So this is such a big window. I take it's not an original opening.
No, it's where the original window would have been, but the original window was smaller, so we pushed it out towards the edge of the building and pushed it out both ways.
And you just framed this beautiful view.
Yeah.
Of course, the better the view, the steeper the hill, which made access tricky during construction. But the biggest problem Shona and her architects faced was saving the 150-year-old stonework, which turned out to be damp and crumbling.
We decided to drill these metal dowels right the way through the walls and kind of clamp a new external frame onto the outside of the stone walls. We would put the insulation on the outside in a jacket for the building. So we kind of turned the typical model of a building inside out.
Wrapped in their warm, full metal jacket, the stone walls could dry out from the inside and be left exposed so that the family memories they contain can continue to be cherished.
Around 6 years ago, we lost my son, Dylan, who was 18, to suicide. So all those memories that we have of Dylan are wrapped up here, but hopefully we can make new memories and have this house for the next generations as well. It's a place that we come to remember Dylan, but it just feels like he's still here and still part of that as well.
That's beautiful. I love this house. It's like a black box of tricks, where they've turned the building inside out and upside down. It's somewhere to contemplate and to heal. It's about remembering the past, but embracing the future.
Five wonderful transformations, 5 remarkable buildings. But which of them have impressed the Royal Institute of British Architects jury enough to win a place on the shortlist?
Will the finalists include the Dutch barn, the transformation that invites the public to look in? The Parchment Works, a historic ruin reborn. Mews House, a high-tech retrofit in traditional style. The Cowshed, the humble outbuilding with a surprising and beautiful secret. Or the Den, where a daring modern shell preserves precious family memories. The RIBA's judging panel, chaired by Taro Tsuruta, has shortlisted 2 of them.
So what's your first transformative project?
Dutch barn.
Dutch barn.
This is an amazing project, really beautiful space. Yeah. It's underneath this large carved ceiling. We don't have any other project like this that are actually private house shared with a community, basically. This is quite unique.
We're used to domestic buildings to being quite a selfish thing.
Yes.
I mean, you know, you might get a glimpse of a building behind a hedge, but heaven forbid you should ever be allowed to go and see it. and all of a sudden, here you can. You see right here.
You can see the poke through the bedroom if you want.
My goodness, that is really incredible. I think that's an amazing achievement, you know, for Sandy and his team, for Rob, who's made the tower.
Well, for us who get to live in it.
Yeah, and for us who get to live in this amazing space.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm thrilled for Paul and Pauline. You know, they've committed a huge amount to this. You couldn't ask for better clients.
So the Dutch barn is on the shortlist, but there's room for one more.
So you've got a second project shortlisted in the transformations category. What is it?
Music house.
What they call a deep retrofit.
Yes. This is very, very unique, original approach to sustainability.
So did it make the shortlist specifically because it is so experimental and advanced?
Yes, absolutely. So experimental in a sustainable way, which nobody really doing right now. And then this generous staircase, bringing a light to the darkest part of the house. Staircase looks like a more piece of sculpture, very beautiful.
That is phenomenal.
Oh, really? We were shortlisted?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Cool.
Great.
Great.
Muse House Deep Retrofit and the Dutch Barn join the shortlist, alongside Sea Breeze and the Red House. There are 3 more places up for grabs before we find out which is crowned the 2022 RIBA House of the Year.
We are all, by now, used to the idea of recycling and reusing, and that applies to buildings, of course, as well, reviving them rather than wastefully knocking them down. What all these projects show is that pursuing that worthy goal doesn't have to be glum and grim, quite the opposite. When you breathe new life into old bricks, not only can you retain all those layers of history, but you can make a home which is beautiful and glamorous and joyful.
Next time, we'll explore houses that are pioneers in their field.
Phenomenal, because you're surrounded on every side by greenery, by gardens.
Yeah.
5 buildings that break the rules.
This ceiling is much more commonly used in multi-storey car parks.
And make us rethink what a home can be.
Whatever this is, it isn't boring.
We all need a little design inspiration from time to time, don't we? I mean, you could sit for hours just scrolling through pictures on your phone, or you could do as I do, and that's go for the more analog approach with the mood board. Or you could just stuff all that and be inspired by the most breathtaking new houses in Britain.
These stunning buildings are the contenders for the Royal Institute of British Architects House of the Year Award.
Whoa, into a symphony of 60s.
So far, we've seen houses that have been hard to build.
It was certainly designed to challenge. It was certainly designed to pull your hair out.
And ones that have performed remarkable transformations.
It's a bit like the clashing gates in Jason the Argonauts.
Today, we're looking at pioneering houses that break the mold and defiantly do their own thing.
That's phenomenal, because you're surrounded on every side by glass,
by green,
but by greenery, by gardens.
Later, we'll see which of them make the coveted shortlist.
This is so intense.
Then, at the end of the series, one home will win the most prestigious prize for residential architecture in the UK.
So put down your scissors and your glue sticks and feast your eyes on this lot.
We're halfway through, and so far there are 4 houses on the shortlist for this year's prize. Sea Breeze, the beach house made to take on the worst of British weather. The Red House, a traditional red brick home reimagined for the future. The Dutch Barn, a rusting hayloft reinvented for comfortable contemporary living. And Mews House Deep Retrofit, the 21st century eco-palace hidden within a Victorian shell.
This time, we're exploring 5 new pioneering houses. These are buildings which boldly go where no house has gone before, making us rethink what a home can be, trialling revolutionary ways of organising space, and maybe even accidentally starting a brand new architectural movement all by themselves. These are mould-breaking houses that demonstrate the power of taking risks. Where they lead, the rest of us will surely follow.
Helping me explore these plucky pioneers are the architect Damien Burrows, the conservation architect Natasha Huck, and the design expert Michelle Agundahin.
I've got views up and down and out.
Have you tried a cronut? They're half croissant and half donut. Actually, a delicious invention. It was pioneered by a New York pastry chef, soon copied around the world. Just goes to show that some of the best new ideas come from combining the things we already know and love. Oh, it's delicious.
Damien's in Surbiton, on the outskirts of London, where people know and love one very particular style of building.
It's full of sweet little mock-Tudor houses.
These cosy Tudor-Beaton homes are just one of the architectural influences our first long lister has chucked into the melting pot. This is Surbiton Springs, the place where mock-Tudor meets the clean lines and indoor-outdoor living of Californian modernism, with a touch of rugged industrial New York loft thrown in. It's a bold and beautiful pioneer for a brand new architectural style. Downstairs, there's a triple-height hallway, a cinema room, a study, and a huge kitchen, dining and living space. Upstairs, there's a guest room with ensuite, a bathroom and a bedroom with a dressing room and covered balcony. This remarkable building is the first ever house by the young architects Percy Weston and Tom Sermon.
Hey, Percy, Tom, how are you doing?
Good, very nice to meet you.
It's got a lot of energy. I mean, it's so unusual. What was the initial brief from the client?
The things she liked were things like New York industrial loft style, and then also Palm Springs modernism. Around here, there's a lot of mock-Tudor architecture, so half-timbered buildings. So our approach was to try and blend all these different influences.
And blend them they have, starting on the outside with a punk reimagining of the popular local look.
In a mock-Tudor building, the beams are obviously all timber, but here we've kind of reinterpreted that in an industrial way using steel as the structure. It's a steel exoskeleton that wraps the entire building. It holds up the roof, the floors.
It is load-bearing, and there's a real honesty to it.
You know, if you strip all this lovely glazing off and strip all the bricks off, this is basically the same frame you'd find in an industrial shed.
Exactly.
The windows, too, offer a roughed-up industrial twist on classic mock-Tudor features.
The mock-Tudor houses A lot of them have these little traditional leaded windows. In a way, Fritto windows were almost like a scaled-up version of these leaded windows.
The RIBA judges praised Percy and Tom for subtly and respectfully playing with local traditions and creating a building that feels both unique and appropriate for its context. But if this house nods to its mock-Tudor neighbours on the outside, over the threshold...
This is a totally different feel. Now, we're in Palm Springs. Love it.
In a monochrome palette and with a vast expanse of glazing, the open-plan main living space has all the pared-back calm and connection to nature of a Californian summer house. The proportions, too, feel more West Coast USA than southwest London suburb.
This room is on an epic scale. What's the dimension across here?
So this room is 11 meters wide from side to side, and you can see there's no columns on this side of the room, and that's because the house is made using this steel frame, so we can span this width easily.
It allows this uninterrupted panorama of the garden, and that's a very common feature of the modernist villas you find in the Californian Palm Springs style.
But look up, and there's one thing in here you wouldn't find on a trip to Palm Springs, or in any house, really.
This ceiling is much more commonly used in multi-storey car parks or stadiums. It's a profiled metal deck, which is then infilled above with concrete.
Was this a hard sell to your client?
The client wasn't quite sure, just because we didn't really have many examples we could show her in this sort of setting.
Which car park did you go to seal the deal?
Well, since we both live in South London, I'd have to say the Peckham multi-storey car park.
One of my favourite car parks. Good choice.
A car park ceiling could be grim, but here it is glamorous thanks to the way Percy and Tom have added skillful finesse to rugged industrial materials. A textured finish cleverly softens the stark look of exposed concrete blocks around the fireplace, while oak adds luxury and craft to floors, doors, and the simple kitchen. But most glamorous of all is the dramatic vaulted lobby.
This is an incredible space. I love the height. For a two-bedroom house, you just wouldn't expect to get this.
Tucked into the eaves is a bathroom and a guest bedroom. But the main event is the bedroom at the back of the house. It has a vaulted ceiling and a show-stopping covered balcony.
It's a great space, isn't it?
This opening was specifically designed to provide this framed view out from the main bedroom.
And what a frame, made from a delicate lattice of white-painted bricks.
This is just a joy, isn't it?
The thing about this is it serves as a bit of a privacy screen for the bedroom here, so any views that might be seen from the rear of the house get obscured by this hit-and-miss brickwork. And then it also allows some dappled light through into this space and into the bedroom.
It feels gorgeous.
Yeah, this balcony was really inspired by some of the Palm Springs references. We don't have the same weather as California, so we designed this balcony as a space where you can sit out here in the pouring rain, have a cup of coffee, and watch the world go by.
A very British balcony for a daring new British house that manages to reinvent one of our most familiar types of building.
Mock-Tudor can often receive a bad rep. But here, every piece of steel, every brick, and every junction performs a visible task, meaning there's absolutely nothing mock about this beautiful jewel box of a house.
We've seen one pioneering house, 4 more to discover before we find out which will make it onto the shortlist for House of the Year 2022. Here you have the components of a house. There's your sitting room, kitchen, bedrooms, bathrooms, and on the top a nice little pointy roof, all sitting in the middle of a lovely garden. But what if you were prepared to try something different? Experiment with the layout, try out new configurations of components and rooms, and spearhead a brand new approach. I mean, that would be exciting.
Our next pioneering longlister is at the forefront of a movement to rethink what a family home can be. It's in a village in Derbyshire, where the houses look like houses should.
Oh, this is such a well-looked-after neighbourhood, full of Edwardian elegance. And in the middle of it
is this Derwent Valley Villa, a home organised in a revolutionary way. It is one building broken up into blocks spread across the plot and connected with glass corridors. So you're always immersed in the remarkable gardens, transforming the experience of being indoors into a fresh and green sensation. The secret lies in the layout of these blocks. There's a garage and then the entrance block with an office and bedroom. A glass corridor links to the main building with its large kitchen and living area. Then, next to that is a block containing a playroom and TV room. Upstairs, a gallery looks down onto the living area. There are 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Derwent Valley Villa is home to a blended family made up of Craig and his 3 children, and his partner, Charlie, and her 2. This unusually laid-out house is an amazing place for children to get lost in. Luckily, I managed to find the front door first time.
Proper doorbell. Hey!
Hey, Kevin.
Good to meet
Nice
you,
to
Craig.
meet you.
What a nice-looking, fine, handsome building. Quite modest, it's set down.
Yeah, come in, have a look.
Thank you. Yeah, no, love to.
To get from the entrance hall to the main house, you must first pass along a great glass corridor.
You go from outside to the little dark, cavernous space there.
Yeah, and then into the light.
Up. That's phenomenal, because you're surrounded on every side by glass.
By green.
But by greenery, by gardens.
Yeah.
This is... I'm suddenly transported.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, from here, you see not only the gardens, what you do clock is this building. This gives you a chance to admire your own house.
Yeah.
The RIBA judges were surprised and delighted by the novel experiences this house offers. For example, emerging from the glass walkway into the vast open-plan main living space.
It's really good.
With a really, really good kitchen at one end and an even better double-height living room at the other. It's a calm haven where the family can congregate.
The kids come in from school and you drop the bags, the coats, the shoes, everything's down that end. My office is down there, but it's nice because you can it's almost like a decompression. You come into this part of the building and you've kind of left all that down there.
A room to relax in, built from surprisingly brutal industrial materials. The floor is concrete, the stairs rough welded steel. It's a bold aesthetic that pushed Craig out of his comfort zone when his architects first proposed it.
I struggled with some parts of what they were suggesting, so the combination of a breeze block, basically, with a steel staircase with all the bolts exposed, when they were kind of pitching that as an idea, I was like, how is that not going to look like a prison?
And there are bits of it that look like my comprehensive school, you know.
Yeah.
But then, of course, the detailing, the quality of the floor, the detailing of the architraves and the doors. And most prisons don't enjoy a garden
Exactly,
like this.
yeah.
And they certainly don't enjoy kitchens like this either. Bespoke units made of solid hardwood with a stainless steel top. It is a thing of sublime beauty.
It's not high street, is it? I mean, this is like proper joinery.
Yeah, it's made out of solid oak, but the interesting story with this is if you went to a typical Scandinavian big box retailer that sells kitchens, this was cheaper.
No.
Yeah.
Craig got his bargain kitchen by entrusting a local joiner with detailed designs drawn up by his architect. A highly successful experiment, just like the trailblazing staircase, housed in a glass sliver between 2 of the buildings.
Oh, this is a new experience. Climbing through a glass box, squeezed between 2 brick walls. Oh, and there is that great big circular light in the ceiling. The oculus. Wherever you go in this building, there are these new encounters.
And fresh adventures round every corner. There are cosy kids' bedrooms and a main suite with more extraordinary views. But back downstairs, there are rooms dedicated to fun.
Can we have a look at the lower zone? So what's this room?
So there's a playroom here.
This is a kid's kind of corner.
Yes, when the kids are making too much noise in here, or when the adults are making too much noise in there.
Degree of separation.
Yeah.
So this is not an open plan house.
And the great thing about the level change in the steps is it's a natural barricade for toys. So it stops toys just going much further than that.
Sea of plastic.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. What's in there? What's in that cupboard?
Oh, that's where all the untidiness is.
Oh, you say that, Craig. It's not that bad. I mean, look at this. Each child has, what, a set of stacks, boxes?
Yeah. Well, we run quite a tight ship.
But who needs plastic toys when you've got Derwent Valley Villa to play in? Trampolining in the garden? Or turning the path outside into a racetrack? Spectators sometimes welcome.
Slowly but steady.
Uplifting as the house is, the journey to build it was painful. Craig bought the plot with Lisa, his wife and the mother to their 3 children. But soon after, she was diagnosed with a terminal illness and died before they got started.
My instinct was to forget about the whole project. Thought, we'd just sell it. And then in the end, I came around, maybe we should just carry on with the project, and it's kind of like a nice new start for the kids.
Before he completed the house, Craig met Charlie, who had suffered a similar loss of her husband, Ryan.
He also passed away.
We have 5 kids that are bereaved.
5 bereaved children.
5 bereaved children.
With all the kids, they've all, been through a traumatic event. And yet this has been such a lovely kind of healing experience to move into this house. It's a nice environment to be in.
And tell me something, your late husband and late wife, what do you suppose they would think of this building then and its role?
Yeah, I think they would like it.
They would like it. I mean, there's a peace that comes with us all living together. I mean, they're both in the foundations of this bridge, actually.
Their ashes?
Their ashes are on each side, so they are as involved in the family, are part of this house as we are.
What a remarkable journey this family have been on to get here, eh? But of course, that journey really continues. In fact, it's only just beginning. Now they're all living here together. Houses, after all, are vessels. They are containers in which we live our lives, and they're there to support and sustain us and to look after us. And goodness me, this house, like any good ship, is strong and resilient. It's a vessel which is now sailing into the future with its precious cargo on board. And at its helm, 5 children.
There are 3 more pioneering homes.
But this is another realm.
Before we discover who makes it onto the shortlist for the RIBA House of the Year 2022.
I'm just reading that 64 years ago, a Texan engineer invented the microchip, and that paved the way for giant, powerful computers the size of this room to be shrunk right down to something that now fits in your pocket. That's amazing, isn't it? Goes to show that world-beating innovation sometimes comes in really small packages.
And our next pioneering longlister is no exception. Michelle is in West London to find it among the hefty red brick terraces that line the streets.
I've come to see something that's been built on an entirely different scale.
This is Peking House, a groundbreaking family home built on a footprint the size of a garage. It is a tiny, delicate brick box at ground level, with an interior that reveals a series of 4 split-level floors, leading you 3 metres below ground, finishing in a sunken courtyard garden. It was commissioned by Chris.
Hello, Michelle, welcome.
A local who rents the house out to tenants.
So how did you stumble across this plot?
Well, I live on the road and walk past it every day, and it was abandoned and getting ever worse in terms of being overgrown, full of mattresses. So I approached the owners and managed to buy it. Initially, I just replaced all the fencing and put gates on it and expected to use it for storage.
At any point, did you look at this, like, teeny plot and see potential for a whole dwelling?
No, I couldn't believe you could build a house on 12 metres by 12.
But your architect had other ideas.
The radical idea that unlocked the site's potential was to dig deep underground, then, cleverly, stagger 4 floors into the space. 1 story below ground is the main bedroom, opening onto a courtyard garden. Up half a flight of stairs is a 2nd bedroom and bathroom. At ground level is the kitchen and dining room, and just 6 steps above that, the living room is perched on top. You might expect a small house packed with so many floors to be dark and cramped. But walk into the kitchen and...
It's so much lighter than I was expecting.
That's because Peking House's experimental interleaved stories, linked by an open staircase, mean you're always connected to other spaces and to the outside.
I don't feel at all boxed in. It feels very spacious.
We needed to maximise the volume and maximise the feeling of light to make it feel more livable internally.
Well, all these little tricks really work because I've got views up and down and out. It's the most extraordinary kind of like Tetris accomplishment from your architect.
Another of the architect's inventive ideas was to leave structural materials unfinished.
Normally we'd cover this all up, make it with blockwork, stick plasterboard over it. Why did you do that?
We're saving precious inches on the dimensions of the property because every inch counts.
Even into the ceiling. I mean, you've recessed the lights in there so that I kind of still have that volume above my head.
We decided to expose it all to get extra floor-to-ceiling height. I think it looks beautiful as well.
Space-saving innovations are everywhere. There's built-in storage tucked into every corner, where even the door handles are neatly recessed. No room for a handrail? Build it into the back of one of the kitchen cabinets. The RIBA judges admired these well-considered details and the surprisingly light and airy upstairs living room.
So here we're at the top of the house.
Where cleverly placed glazing seems to help the building expand.
There's an extraordinary view out across treetops this way.
Yeah, I think it looks almost rural in character, which is a surprise.
It might feel rural now, but there were a lot of very urban issues for the builder, Damien. He had to tunnel under the street to connect this new house to London's sewer system.
At the time, I was very worried because there's a road and we've got cars and lorries coming back and forwards, and we had to make sure that any big lorries come in, we had to stop them. I would send them a different direction so that we didn't have any tunnels falling in on top of us.
Thanks to Damien's great escape, this ingenious small building is supremely successful. A trailblazing design for the UK, in fact. But it was instantly familiar to Chris's tenants, who are now living in Peking House.
So we lived in Tokyo, and we moved to here in the UK about 5 months ago. It was very natural for us. It's very similar in Japan.
I like to live in here. I like to cook. Especially under the natural light, it's my pleasure.
This site could have been left as a parking space. But a pioneering architectural spirit has transformed it into a beautiful, functional building that might just offer a blueprint for others to copy.
Our cities are dotted with unpromising little sites that developers are wary to take on. But what Chris and his architect have shown us is that with skill and imagination, it's possible to not only make viable houses, but also homes full of excitement and delight.
Doing something pioneering doesn't always mean reaching into the unknown, trying something whiz-bang, technologically impossible or previously unthinkable. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is to start with what's right in front of you, then upgrade it, improve it, create something thrillingly new. Oh, yes!
Natasha's come to rural Suffolk, where our next pioneering longlister has taken one of the local traditional brick and flint cottages and given it a thrillingly radical upgrade.
Wow.
This is Suffolk Cottage, a 19th century building rebooted for the 21st. By cloning it, a shiny contemporary copy of the old cottage, made from modern materials, now sits next to the renovated original, connected to it by a single-storey extension. It's two houses in one, owned and designed by Liz and Tom Miller, previous House of the Year winners. They live here with their daughters, who have their own wing. The remodelled old cottage has a hallway downstairs with Liz and Tom's bedroom above. A single-storey linking block contains an open kitchen, dining and seating area, a studio space and a covered terrace at the far end. Then, in the new two-storey cottage, are the girls' bedrooms, a shower room and a music room.
Hi Liz, hi Tom. Really great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So this is the original cottage?
Yes, just the flint bit at the front. It was a tiny little cottage, and then we've added the bit at the back, and the bit at the far end is all new. When you're trying to tie a new bit of building with an old building, one of the ways you can do that is to sort of echo what was there already. The original has rectangular, traditional real slates. We've got these diamond-shaped fibre cement ones, where the original has this traditional flint walling. We happen to be able to reuse some leftover flint blocks. It's that echo of what's there on the original cottage.
So charming. I'd love to see inside.
Come in, have a look.
Thanks.
The RIBA judges were dazzled by the innovative approach Tom and Liz have taken in restoring the former labourer's cottage and then cleverly adding to it. The new living space they've made at the rear is remarkable.
Wow. That is amazing.
With a gobsmackingly good sitting room in the centre, a kitchen at one end, and a cosy snug at the other. This multitasking, multi-purpose space unlocks this building's experimental layout.
Basically, Liz and I live up at the top of the cottage. The girls are doing the extension. So this is between us. It's where we all come together each day. And we knew here we wanted a space that everyone was going through all the time. And certainly every time I come down from the morning, you get that big view, you're in this central space, and it cheers you up every day.
So this is where you almost pass by each other?
Exactly, yeah, we don't have corridor, everyone just moves around.
Yes, I mean, during lockdown, the girls were studying for exams, and quite often they would come and study in here so that they just had this beautiful view. So, yeah, it definitely accepts all kinds of uses.
Tom and Liz have also broken new ground with the green credentials of this house. Every detail has been carefully considered.
We were pushing the environmental boundaries, really thinking about the materials that we wanted to experiment with.
We've used self-coloured plaster, so we don't have to go applying a lot of paint unnecessarily. And then the floor is natural linoleum, which is made out of linseed oil and clay and chalk. All the way through, we've tried to pick materials like that that don't take too much energy in production.
Such a resourceful approach.
This resourcefulness can be seen everywhere, from the glass-backed photovoltaic solar panels on the veranda to the stonework for the single-storey extension, which was made using leftover odds and ends from the builder's yard. Building this pioneering home on a budget of £320,000 meant Tom had to enter into the frontier spirit and get his hands dirty.
I had to start making all the kitchen, and I did all that, just working on the floor on a bench, making up ply cabinets. And then we didn't have a lot of money for worktops and things like that. So this is all just bamboo.
And is that the first time you worked with bamboo?
Yes, I've used it on flooring. I've never done joinery with it before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was one of those things we had to experiment with here, and now I've used elsewhere.
This whole house has been a test bed for Tom and Liz to play with fresh ideas. There are new discoveries round every corner, like the bedroom garden wonderland on the ground floor of the new cottage, or, upstairs, the secluded music room. Sorry, didn't see you there. In the old cottage, Tom and Liz have worked with the higgledy-piggledy layout of the existing building and used unorthodox design ideas to make the most of what's there.
I love this curve. I can't believe they've managed to get a whole bathroom in this wall.
Then, up a few short steps, is Tom and Liz's platform bedroom, cleverly squeezed in by the window. Suffolk Cottage is an extraordinary feat of architecture and design, taking a traditional 19th century building, being inspired by it, expanding it, updating it, and yet without losing its original character.
I really admire what Liz and Tom have done here. They've set up a whole new experience of what an extension can be. They've lovingly created a home that echoes the original, and it's also a test bed for exceptionally clever and low-impact design that's truly inspirational for architecture today.
That's 4 trailblazing houses. One more to go before we find out which of them will make the shortlist for the 2022 House of the Year award. There. No. There. That's it. You see, we all love to personalise our homes, don't we? Make them our own, or at least we think we do, because in reality, we all choose the same houseplants. We all choose the same paints from the same colour charts, kitchens from the same showrooms. Not many of our homes are genuinely individual, the work of true pioneering originals, you know? There you go. That's better, isn't it? Yes.
Our final pioneering original is hiding somewhere round the back of these primped and proper streets in southeast London. This is Mountain View. And it's wild. A metal mountainscape sitting over a one-off building where demolished walls are shelves and tables have hairy rubber legs. It's an extension and a remodelling of the existing house that dramatically rethinks what a home can look like. The pioneering mind behind it all is Matt, an architect, who lives here with his young children and his wife Laura, a civil servant. She is not an architect.
There were so many things that I just wasn't convinced of along the way and needed convincing. And I didn't necessarily choose you as my architect.
You would have chosen someone else?
No. No.
From the front door, you pass a renovated living room, and then everything after that has been remodelled. There's a new utility room. Then it's the main family area, sunken from its original level, with dining, kitchen and seating. Upstairs are the original rooms, but with a new double-height landing. And of course, it's finished with a two-dimensional silhouette of a mountain made of foamed aluminium. Matt wanted his family's home to express all the things they were interested in, however unlikely they may be.
Why mountain?
We saw these pictures of this Disneyland ride in San Diego where they were making this hyper-realistic mountain, and we thought, why not try and replicate that?
And why not do that on a house? How were you when this idea was first mooted?
Well, like every idea that he initially has, very concerned. But I knew that it was, you know, his one opportunity, given that it's our house, to really go for it and, you know, do something that he loves, that probably any other client would be worried about.
So do you think that Britain is kind of ready for more of this kind of thing?
I hope so, because I won't have much work otherwise.
The RIBA judges enjoyed the surreal experience of this house, as well as its individuality and personal expression. But it's not just Matt who's had his interests reflected in the building. These columns, painted red and white, replicate the poles used to map landscapes. And sunken in the floor are survey markers. Both are a reference to Laura's student days.
I did geography at university. I love nature and outdoors and the natural landscape.
So is this a sort of biographical exercise, an autobiographical exercise?
I think so. There's references throughout.
Stepping inside is a theatrical experience.
Oh, look. It's so splendid.
Revealing a room full of references waiting to be decoded, although I'm not sure what the half-demolished walls mean.
This is the original back wall of the house?
Yeah. We were really keen to just not lose some of the original character of the house, so the brick walls retained. And I suppose, you know, if you're going to keep a bit of wall, why not make use of it and use it as a bit of storage space for whatever?
The pioneering approach to materials can be seen everywhere, from woolly concrete walls to a foam seat that looks like a giant piece of cheese. Even the kitchen worktops have an unlikely origin.
So this is recycled chopping boards, and the black is single-use plastic, like takeaway trays. And then the blue is full-fat milk bottle tops.
Oh, brilliant. What about the dining tables? What's the base? Is that rubber? What is it?
Yeah, so this is recycled shredded car tyres, a bit like you get in a child's playground, and then mixed with resin and cast on 4x4 timber.
On your steps, there is the phrase, tiled, waste not, want not. Where's that from?
So that was something that my grandmother always used to say in the kitchen, like relentlessly. So whenever I'm in my kitchen, I always think,
What?
waste not, want not.
You took it literally to heart with this, because you made your entire kitchen out of rubbish.
Exactly.
But there are some brand new things here, like the striking tabletop. Matt found the company that makes the signs for London Underground, and he asked them to coat a piece of steel with multiple layers of enamel to form a marble effect that's as individual as a set of fingerprints. The mixture of styles, materials and textures in this house defies the rules of conventional taste, especially in the kaleidoscopic colour scheme. But if it all gets too much, there is the living room to retreat to.
This is so intense. Talk about gloomth. It's just a room of shadow, this. Come to think of it, I'm wearing the wrong clothes. Can you even see me?
The original house was a hodgepodge of Edwardian spaces, decorated in various shades of brown. To transform this place cost a relatively reasonable £220,000, and they didn't stop downstairs.
But this is another realm. I wasn't expecting this at all.
Matt has opened this space right up to the roof, but he's left the ceiling joists and even the old loft hatch as a hint of what this house once was.
Anybody else would have removed the joists. Anybody else. Including me, probably. But the whole house is just full of fun.
The age-old question that we get with this house is, you know, why did you do certain things? Why did you put a mountain on the back? And your answer just becomes, well, why not? And I think that just infiltrates into the way that you live as well.
Yeah, it represents us, and coming back to an all-white box, I think, would be a bit depressing.
This house may make Matt and Laura happy, but what about the neighbours?
We've lived here about 24 years. You come out here and it's kind of, wow, what's this? You know, and we do get that reaction from people that visit.
Yeah, whatever this is, it isn't boring.
No, it is pioneering. Fun. And deeply, deeply odd. And I love that about it.
There are so many great qualities that architecture can bring to our lives. Organisation, clarity, storage, light, space, connection, narrative. All good, all actually recognisable. And then there are those harder to spot qualities, the emotional ones, the joy and the delight that a building can bring to people's lives. Let me tell you that in this building, the joy and the delight are absolutely palpable. We've looked at 5 magnificent buildings, all testing out fresh architectural ideas. But which of them does the Royal Institute of British Architects deem worthy of a place on the shortlist?
Could it be Surbiton Springs' 21st century Tudor Beetham, Derwent Valley Villa and its adventurous family layout, the pocket-sized Peking House, Suffolk Cottage's non-identical twins, or the wonderfully weird Mountain View? Taro Tsuruta, chair of this year's judging panel, is here to spill the beans.
So tell me, what's the first house you've shortlisted in this category?
Surbiton Spring.
How do you describe it? The sort of mock-Tudor?
New mock-Tudor.
New mock-Tudor.
Yes. Actually simple, but very well studied and a well executed project.
And it sounds playful too.
Yes, very playful. They managed to create new sort of suburban house, which is very, very difficult to do. And it is 2 young architects managed to do with their first building is extraordinary.
Oh, wow. Okay, wow. That is great.
Yeah,
okay. Wow,
really
that's so good. Yeah. Wow. That's great.
Go some fun.
With Surbiton Springs through, only 1 spot remains for a pioneering finalist.
And what's the second house you've shortlisted in this category?
Suffolk Cottage.
Suffolk Cottage.
Yes.
Which is by Liz and Tom Miller.
Yes.
They won in 2018, I think. So this is 4 years on. They've come back with another project.
This extension is actually copying original building. So that really gives a sort of character to the street, such a labor of love.
Done on a budget. It was. Yeah. It's an ecological and highly energy efficient building, but it's also done with a respect for community and the local history.
Yes.
That is exciting and slightly amazing, because it is just our scruffy family house.
I'm glad we entered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Suffolk Cottage and Surbiton Springs join the 4 houses already on the shortlist. There's 1 more space to fill before we discover the RIBA House of the Year for 2022.
How is it that we are all so fascinated by watching other people trying new things? Well, I think it's because the very act of pioneering, of inventing something, is of itself an expression of hope. All the houses that we've seen here, they're all trying to show us how our own homes can be improved, whether it's through being more energy efficient and ecological and saving us money in the process, or whether it's with space, helping to relate us better to each other and to our environment. Whatever. All these houses send a message of hope for the future. And boy, don't we all need that.
Next time, we'll be celebrating houses that showcase extraordinary craftsmanship.
I've just noticed that your screws are all lined up on your building.
Yeah, I was pretty much keeping an eye on that.
And exceptional use of materials.
Who needs art when you get shadows like this?
And we'll discover the winner of House of the Year 2022.
How do you like to watch House of the Year? Do you sit at home all alone with your homemade scorecard, rating every atrium and architrave? Or do you prefer a spirited debate with your viewing companion? Really? What, the one with the glass bathroom? Dressed like that? Joking.
We're nearing the end of our journey round the remarkable buildings longlisted for this year's award.
This is so intense.
6 houses have now been shortlisted.
My goodness, that is really incredible.
Now, just 5 more long-listed homes remain to be seen.
Full steam ahead.
And this time, they're all buildings that demonstrate ingenious use of materials.
Because it's a wood frame, when it's very windy, it does shimmy.
It does creak around a bit.
Yeah.
And exceptional craftsmanship.
I just noticed that your screws are all lined up on your building.
Yeah, I was pretty much keeping an eye on that.
One of them will secure the last place on the shortlist.
Oh, goodness me.
Before we learn which shortlisted home wins the coveted title of the Royal Institute of British Architects House of the Year 2022.
And don't ignore me just because I don't agree with you.
The 6 magnificent homes shortlisted for the 2022 award so far include 2 hard-to-build houses.
Oh, wow. That is one dynamic window.
2 houses that have undergone remarkable transformations.
This is special. I really like it.
And 2 pioneering homes.
Wow.
There's room for just 1 more house on the shortlist from our final collection of long-listed buildings.
The houses in this category have all been picked for the carefully chosen and beautifully crafted materials. Think of them like the master chefs of the building world. Some select the finest raw ingredients and let them speak for themselves. Others lavish care and attention on cheap cuts, turning them into delicacies. Either way, the results are delectable.
Our first longlister in rural East Anglia takes the Michelin star fine dining approach to craftsmanship. That is, an obsessive, perfectionist attention to detail.
Well, this is inspiring.
This is Norfolk Barn, a fabulously precise barn conversion, where corrugated roofing lines up exactly with planed larch louvers. The grammar of birch ply joinery is punctuated by perfectly spaced black screwheads, and every element from the giant floor tiles to the supersized fireplace has been meticulously scaled up in proportion to this epic building. On the ground floor, there's a double-height kitchen, dining and living space with a separate snug and a generous indoor pool. Upstairs, there are 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It's home to Luke, a designer of airport and aircraft interiors for exacting clients in the luxury travel business.
Luke, how are
Hi,
you?
Kevin. Good to
Good
meet
to
you.
see you.
And
What
you.
a building. floor-to-ceiling glass. It's quite something, but with this great big timber box projecting out.
That timber box houses the main bedroom and has been scrupulously crafted from birch plywood with fastidious attention to the fixing details.
I've just noticed that your screws are all lined up.
Yeah, we had two options. We either made a feature of the screw heads, so it appeared like a stitch line.
Yeah.
Or we matched it with the colour of the ply. I said, we can make a feature as long as they're in line and regular, and I was pretty much keeping an eye on that.
Luke's eye for detail is apparent everywhere. The larch louvers are all perfectly parallel. The metal wall panels and the steel frame are all exactly colour-coded.
The frame is black?
Very, very dark grey, but yes, black. Because one thing I don't like, and we've got a few surfaces that get a lot of sun, I don't like the glossy finish. So if something appears to be glossy black, not a big fan. You know, it's got to be matte or it's got to be anthracite or just knocked back slightly.
Not that you're a fussy client.
But oh, what a lot there was to fuss over.
Come in.
Thank you. Oh, goodness me. It's a big space, isn't it?
Yeah, big 8-metre ceiling height.
Plenty big enough for a luxurious kitchen in dark grey, of course. And a vast living area, united by massive porcelain floor tiles. The RIBA judges delighted in the surprising scale of this place.
This is more like a hangar.
Yeah, aircraft hangar scale, which means that everything implemented has also got to be of that scale. So kitchen units, fireplace, sofa would look a bit out of place in a conventional...
You're right. I've just realised the sofa seat's 19. And that's one of the largest you can buy, that wood burner, and yet it actually looks relatively small.
The scaling up of fixtures and fittings is one architectural trick that helps this huge space feel comfortable, not cavernous. Acoustic straw ceiling tiles laid in a precise geometric pattern keep the sound level on a domestic scale. A ground source heat pump keeps it cosy. And the vast internal volume has been cleverly broken up here and there into smaller rooms, contained in plywood boxes, linked by a glass walkway.
Now hear this. I know this is an agricultural building, but actually up here on this walkway, it's less like being in a barn, more like being on a ship, traversing a gantry, as though the building is about to set sail across the Norfolk landscape. Full steam ahead.
But look closer, and there are actually clues to this building's farming past here. There's a staircase disguised as a grain silo. And the rooms above the pool are supported by a rugged concrete frame, thanks to the architect Will Burgess's vision.
We were really keen to kind of retain this utilitarian kind of quality to the spaces so that it didn't suddenly become overly twee and overly domestic. All the materials were things that you might find in an agricultural setting.
Though I've never seen a pearlescent blue pool on a working farm.
I mean, that's the one pushback I remember, which was quite funny. I suppose we were chancing our arm. We wanted to kind of push the agricultural aesthetic, so we were really going for a really dark grey or a black pool, so it looked like a water storage tank.
Slurry tank.
And that meeting was just kind of, no. And it's like, OK, we'll move on from that.
It was really important to get the colour right.
We embraced the Hockney blue instead.
Ask any architect what makes a great building, and they will tell you a great client, a collaborative, interested, engaged client. Of course, if it happens to be a particularly demanding client, then that can make the whole process really quite miserable. But not in this case, because here, Luke is a highly respected design professional in his own right. And as a result, the collaboration between him and Will's practice led to a fully resolved building, all the way through from conception right through to the detail. It's a beautiful thing and it is rare to find. And how does it manifest itself in the building? Well, I think it all boils down to one word: integrity. We've seen one beautifully crafted house, 4 more to enjoy before we find out which of them will be added to the shortlist for House of the Year 2022. Picking materials involves choice. Unlike so many of the other choices we make every day, when faced with an array of tempting options, it is nearly always better to keep things simple. Was that too much?
Our next long lister in rural Northern Ireland has narrowed down the options to just one. Natasha Huck is here to see a house that is a hymn to brick.
What a simple, elegant building.
This is House at Loch Beg. Dressed head to toe in beautifully crafted grey brickwork, unbroken by so much as a gutter or a window frame. It's a breathtaking lesson in the art of simplicity, as pared back and clean on the inside as the outside. The ground floor has a kitchen, dining area, study, guest room, family room, and a generous double-height living room. Upstairs there are 3 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a main suite. The house is set in a strikingly beautiful protected landscape, which meant picking the right material to build it from was quite some responsibility for its owners, Hugh and Gillian.
It's a very peaceful location with wonderful views, and the landscape's just wonderful.
We felt that we had to have something that fitted in and didn't distract from the landscape.
The answer was to use this soft grey brick, pale enough so as not to shout, but so well jointed and pointed to also be breathtaking.
Hello, Natasha.
Hi, Hugh.
Welcome to your home.
Hugh, the bricks are so beautiful. It just gives such a nice texture.
And Hugh has used a remarkable 50,000 of them.
I mean, that's an overwhelming amount. Did you have a team of people to build it?
No, one gentleman. One
man?
One man laid every brick. I thought it'd be better if I got one man to lay every brick so we'd be able to have that consistency throughout the house.
A pared-back workforce for a pared-back building. Windows are unadorned and recessed, gutters are hidden away, and the roof is a clean triangle of sharp-edged zinc.
It's really kind of carefully detailed.
Yes.
There's no extra kind of fussiness.
What we liked about it was very, very simple.
But simple rarely means easy.
The work is in what you can't see.
Yes, the work is behind the scenes, trying to get everything organised for the next person. Because if you look at the skylights are between certain panels and everything lines up, so you have to have the buy-in from everyone.
So they had to be fully invested in the building and what its focus was.
Yes, and I got consumed in the detail. My job was then to brainwash everyone else and get them consumed.
And the brainwashing worked.
Oh, wow. It's beautiful.
Inside, more immaculate brickwork guides you through the ground floor, where the RIBA judges admired how each room provides varied frames for the landscape. Most impressively in the living room.
Wow, look at this volume. It's amazing.
Which is wrapped in a ribbon of floor-level glazing.
The view, it just invites you to sit down.
Yes, that's the idea, that the view wouldn't be exposed until you were sitting down.
You don't notice anything but that landscape.
This panoramic view, unbroken by pillar or corner post, wasn't easy to achieve. To engineer the concrete formwork that supports this extraordinary cantilevered corner, Hugh sought out some specialist local skills.
I talked to a gentleman in that normally does agricultural buildings, a local man who lives just over a mile away. When we spoke to him initially, he wasn't so sure, but when he came on board, The talent was there, and the knowledge was there, and sure enough, he was able to do it no problem.
Building barns was a skill set more useful for this project than you might think. The architect designed the house to look like a collection of farm buildings, albeit very stylish ones. There are barn door shutters on the windows, simple timber floors laid with exacting precision. And the handmade bricks have a soft and organic quality, though their natural variation made life difficult for the bricklayer, Kevin.
The hardest part maybe was the picking through the brick constantly to get the same sizes. The house is all designed through lines and everything lining up, and if we didn't sort through the brick, you couldn't have got it to all work out right. They're not even a square brick, they're a lot bigger at the top than they are at the bottom, and then to keep moving the brick till you got it right, just took a lot of time.
It is perhaps unsurprising that the house at Loch Beg took 5 long years to build, during which Hugh and Gillian matched the dedication of the local craftspeople they employed.
I was out here most days and lots of nights. You're working to maybe 2 or 3 in the morning and then getting up the next morning and going to work. The children and you probably lost out in a few years of my life because I dedicated it to here and it took over.
The build did take a long time and it was a real journey together and came out with a beautiful home.
Hugh and Gillian wanted to do something that was right, both for the landscape and for their family. Together with local tradespeople, they have created a legacy that will enhance this setting and inspire the surrounding community for generations to come.
So this is your average spoon. I mean, it is a very average spoon. It's made out of pressed steel and it bends. But no complaints, because it does the job it was made for. However, this one, oh God, this one's beautiful. It was made in a factory just outside Sheffield. It is British, fabricated, crafted. Each one is perfectly, carefully hand-finished, so it has a smooth and beautiful balance. And it is, as a result, a joy to use. In fact, the pleasure a well-made object like this brings will carry on giving and giving forever. Great craftsmanship can conjure magic.
Michelle Agundahin is looking for a magical work of craftsmanship designed to bring pleasure to the streets of East London.
So far, so typically London streetscape.
Until you reach the Library House. A small but perfectly formed jewel of a home, where every detail from delicate perforated core 10 steel cladding to exquisite joinery and tactile walls has been carefully honed to make the experience of living here a joy. The Library House has been slotted into a gap between a row of Victorian cottages and a public library. Downstairs there's a living room and a kitchen diner. A semicircular staircase leads you up to 2 bedrooms and a family bathroom. The Library House's architect is a previous House of the Year winner, James MacDonald Wright,
James, hello.
who wanted to make a dazzling first impression.
Well, James, I'm looking at these gorgeous glossy white bricks. I mean, tell me about them.
So we've used a glazed white brick with a lime mortar to make it seem a little whiter. It's a 50mm high brick, so it has a more contemporary feel than a traditional 64mm brick.
James's choice of brickwork is a clever riposte to the Victorian terrace next door, but the library on the other side needed a different, more robust response.
This, like, steel. It seems like an unusual move because it's quite feisty.
There needed to be some sort of element that would create the separation between the library, which is in a red brick, and the cottages in white. There's a core 10 perforated panel which provides a bit of shade to the front of the house.
The colours of that really then echo the library, whereas this finishes off the street.
Squeezed into a 4-metre wide gap, This is a compact house of 84 square metres. It's the size of the average London home, but it's far from ordinary.
It's so light and airy.
Inside, there's a beautiful handcrafted kitchen. There are bespoke timber cupboards and striking criss-cross braces overhead. The RIBA judges loved the exceptionally crisp detailing of the carpentry, reserving special praise for the crafted winding staircase in the centre of the space.
Traditionally, when you come in through the front door, there would be a staircase that comes straight up. But the house is only 4 metres wide, so what we've done is move the staircase to the middle of the house, and that gives us the increased width.
Ah, very canny.
And it's not just any staircase. Made from Douglas fir and Sitka spruce, it also serves as a beautiful bookcase and secret throne room. It leads to the first floor, where in the expertly crafted bedroom, the perforated Corten steel outside provides an ever-changing pattern of light within.
Ah, wow. I mean, who needs art when you get shadows like this? It's so beautiful.
There are thrilling experiences everywhere. For the hardy, there's an open-air shower in the courtyard garden. Or you can settle into the comfortable living room.
And here we are.
And admire the beautifully textured and budget-friendly exposed blockwork.
Blockwork is usually a pretty harsh material to use in an interior, and yet somehow here it looks almost like suede.
So we've used a clay blockwork, and over that we've put a lime parge coat, which you'd normally use for airtightness. But we found when we were putting it on, if you do it carefully with horizontal brush strokes, that we get a finish that looks more like a clay or something like that. And of course, by not putting plasterboard and paint and things, it means that we're saving money, but also we've saved embodied energy there as well.
This frugal use of materials means this exceptionally eco house keeps its carbon footprint down. What's more, it is triple glazed, airtight, and equipped with solar panels, so it needs minimal energy to run. And all its beautifully crafted materials have been found as close to home as possible, including the luxurious blue lias stone flooring, quarried in Somerset from just 1 metre below ground.
It's a super hard, durable limestone, and it's a little bit unusual in that the blue lias is blue, and there's not many limestones that are of that sort of colour.
Not many houses of this scale are so jam-packed with beautiful details either. But perhaps they should be.
We all deserve moments of beauty and luxury, and this city sanctuary shows that with craftsmanship and care, it could be more achievable than you might think.
We've admired 3 perfectly honed homes. There are 2 more left to nose around.
I can see into their bathroom.
You can, I can't.
But which will be promoted to the shortlist for a chance to win the grand prize? There are so many good reasons to be building in timber. I mean, it's an incredibly strong material, first of all, but it's also renewable. I mean, it quite literally grows on trees. It captures and stores carbon. And being surrounded by wood, and whether it's in a forest or in a building, is proven to reduce your blood pressure and improve your well-being.
Our next long lister from the materials and craftsmanship category takes a familiar type of wooden building and elevates it to new heights. It lies deep in the farming country of the Fens, land of the rough and ready wooden shed. Until now.
That is a little slice of sharply cut, understated cool.
This is Mere House. the most exquisite wooden shack you ever saw. It has beautifully detailed larch cladding and a roof that's about to take flight, all wrapped around a lightweight, low-carbon, super-insulated timber frame that makes this building as energy efficient as it is delightful. It's home to Joan, a former head teacher who's retired to the wide-open landscapes of the Fens and built herself a house that fits right in.
Oh, Joan, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Kevin, good to meet you. Thanks for letting me come and have a look at your house.
Thank you.
It's rather splendid. It's a timber frame building, and not just built in timber, but also clad
Yes, larch.
in timber.
And this is not just any larch cladding. Mere House is dressed in intricately detailed overlapping larch boards, precision laid, but with a rough-sawn, rustic flavour.
It looks almost agricultural.
I think that was the idea, locally with the vegetable pallets.
Oh, in the fields? Yeah.
And
A
you
ton
just,
of
if you
veg.
turn them on the side, that's what they look like.
OK.
The Fens are not known just for veg farming, but also for high winds. Not always kind to wooden houses, as the Three Little Pigs and Joan found out.
When it's very windy, it does shimmy.
So you do hear and feel it. It does creak around a bit.
Yeah.
Now, is that a good thing in your mind?
Now that I'm used to it, because it's a wood frame, it's going to be more flexible than a brick house, but you are actually more connected with the outside because it's almost a living thing, really.
The whole building connects Joan to the outside world, thanks to its clever upside-down layout. Downstairs, there's a spare bedroom, office and garage. But the main living spaces are all on the first floor, where Joan has her kitchen, sitting room and bedroom.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
The RIBA judges admired this topsy-turvy arrangement, which allows Joan to see for miles over the surrounding fens.
So, standing up here, I fully appreciate the advantage of upside-down living because you get this long connection with the landscape, with the horizon.
Yes, yeah.
So everything opens up.
It's that kind of breath.
Yes, exactly.
And the butterfly roof allows for a raised bank of windows facing the neighbours, the perfect height to respect everyone's privacy. Almost.
I can see into their bathroom.
You can, I can't.
Well, they've designed the house for you.
Yes,
That's the important point.
yes.
If I drop a couple of inches to your eye level, actually, you get much more sky.
Yeah.
And it's not just the sightlines that are tailored specifically to Joan.
I mean, this is the kind of main act. Sitting room, dining room, kitchen, all in one space.
Yes.
Not large, it's not
No.
expansive,
No.
but that's not what you wanted.
No, I wanted somewhere that's fine for me and small enough, because I hate cleaning. So what's the point of having a big space?
You can clean so easily under the kitchen.
Yes, I hate kickboards.
Yeah,
I hate
yeah.
things hidden away, like the pipes. They wanted to box it all in, and I said, no, just leave it. It's supposed to be kind of that industrial farmhouse.
Yeah,
It's just-
put it on show.
Yeah.
This is a practical house for a practical owner. There's even a lift in case the time comes when Joan can't manage the stairs. But there's beauty in this place's pragmatism. The vivid marmoleum floors, made from cork dust, sawdust and linseed oil, are a river of green that flows through the bedroom and out to the fields beyond. Downstairs, flooring is natural timber, and the walls are painted with bio-based paints. No petrochemicals. All built under Joan's watchful eye. She managed the project herself to a tight budget.
Joan was fantastic. She was on site more or less every day, checking in with the guys, was just so on top of the kind of day-to-day decisions.
One of Joan's amazing qualities is to get people to do what she wants without making them feel like she's giving them orders. Handing out biscuits, making everybody feel like they were working towards a great purpose. She challenged us. It wasn't always easy, and that always adds up for a better building, I think.
One of the challenges Joan set her architects was to ensure that Mere House costs her as little as possible to run during her retirement. There are solar panels up on that winged roof and triple glazed windows positioned to harness the warmth of the sun. And it's been built using a prefab timber frame, made in a factory and then pumped full of insulation on site. to make a perfectly airtight, cosy, comfortable home for Joan.
So, what is it that you think the house gives you?
Makes me happy. It's content. Like the front door, which is the bright yellow. It's kind of a happy house. It's a happy colour. But yeah, I'm feeling relaxed and happy and content and ready for the next few years.
You know, this place is growing on me. It's humble. It's straightforward. It doesn't show off. You learn to like it slowly. And it reminds me of what architecture is for, really, that it's here to look well where it is and to also look after us, human beings. So on the roof of this building, there's a great bank of solar panels generating electricity quietly day in, day out, without any fuss for this building to use. Just as the architecture here, day in, day out, without any fuss, is generating bags of contentment for Joan to enjoy. Now, there's just one more example of fine workmanship to admire before the RIBA judges finalise their shortlist and reveal the overall winner of House of the Year 2022. Every wartime cook knew how to make the most of the ingredients available to them. With the right know-how, meagre rations could be whipped up into something exquisite. So that's sugar, dried eggs, corn flour, margarine. Who'd like to taste my mock cream?
Damien Burrows is in Norwich, where our next long lister shows just what you can achieve with limited means when you set your mind to it. This is the garden studio. A masterful reworking of the side wing of a Victorian house into a pared-back, beautifully crafted kitchen and artist studio. Using inexpensive plywood, off-the-shelf kitchen carcasses, and warehouse shelving. The garden studio was the architect Tom Briscoe's first major commission. His knack for elevating the everyday is evident as soon as you arrive through the beautifully detailed reclaimed brick wall.
Walking up here, it's such a delicate, subtle little entrance.
Thanks.
And you could have just formed that out of a single layers of brick, but you've got this wonderful little fan array of 3 layers of brick going over the top.
Yeah, I think just a little bit of extra care and something to, give it some identity.
So have you always had a love of taking materials and squeezing every last bit out of them?
Finding ways to use readily available materials in interesting ways.
A good thing too. Tom had a budget of just £95,000 to turn a tumble-down garage and a jumble of utility spaces into 65 square metres of living and working space. Now, facing the street is a single-storey art studio which flows into a kitchen diner, topped by a mezzanine.
What an incredible space.
The minimal kitchen impressed the RIBA judges for its sense of great calm.
It's a beautiful kitchen.
Thanks very much. We tried to position it as just this simple block of colour in the corner of the room.
I can see you love it because you've got matching trousers as well.
Given its slick green cabinetry, you might think this was a pricey big-name designer job. But you'd be wrong.
It is made with simple IKEA carcasses, overclad with these painted door fronts.
I mean, this does not feel like a high street kitchen. There's a lot of care gone into this.
This clever mixing of cheap and cheerful components with more special materials can also be seen overhead, where bog-standard spruce ply has been skillfully stitched into the existing fabric of the remodelled building.
this incredible ceiling. Feels like you could walk around in this kitchen just looking up.
It was shrewd because the ceilings had been completely chopped up and cut away by the removal of all of the partitions that had been in this room. And so it all needed to be kind of healed and touched up, and so it made sense to dress it with this timber.
Everywhere you look, Tom has saved money without compromising on beauty. The floor looks like polished concrete, but is actually a thinner and much cheaper layer of micro-cement. And the striking staircase up to the ply-lined mezzanine was designed by Tom and cut using computer-controlled machinery.
That was made as a kind of flat pack that I ended up assembling myself. Because I got hands-on, we were able to keep it to something like £500, where traditionally it might have been closer to 6,000 or 7,000.
This lovingly built space is home to two makers, Peter, an artist, and Sally, who makes textiles. Their new studio space at the front of the building, lit by high-level windows, is dominated by an extraordinary storage unit, built using a system more commonly found in warehouses or factories.
This shelving is absolutely everywhere, and I love it.
Yes, my husband Peter made this by buying just sort of off-the-shelf boatless shelving and then sort of hacking it by making his own drawers with plywood. Yeah, all fitting very neatly in.
I mean, neatly is exactly the word. Are you not tempted to just kind of, you know, swap a few things around? See if he notices?
Oh, I wouldn't dare. I would.
When Peter and Sally put their faith in an untested architect, well, they took a huge risk. But what they got in return was unwavering commitment, buckets of hard work, and a brilliantly functional home that offers beauty and delight.
So, our tour of the last 5 houses on the long list is complete. But which of them will make it onto the shortlist? Will it be Norfolk Barn, beautiful tailored craftsmanship with an agricultural edge? The simple, striking grey brick beauty of House at Loch Beg? The Library House, the average-sized home filled with moments of joy? Mere House, the prettiest veg crate in the Fens, with impeccable eco-credentials? Or the building that proves great craftsmanship doesn't have to cost the earth, the Garden Studio? The RIBA jury, chaired by Taro Tsuruta, has reached its verdict.
How many have you shortlisted in this category of materials and craftsmanship?
One.
One?
Yes.
Which is it?
Library House. Architects actually managed to create new sustainable aesthetic.
Wow, so he's really pushing it,
yes,
trying to find an aesthetic out of sustainability.
Sustainability, yes, yes. That's you can.
And on a scale and budget.
Yes, yes. But the craft from the kitchen worktop to bathroom tile, everything just sort of pleasing to see.
It's one of those houses you keep going around thinking, oh yes, oh, that's
yes,
clever. Yeah,
I can use that one.
Yeah, I could use that.
Yes.
That's amazing. Oh, that's so lovely to know. Thank you very much.
So the shortlist is complete. 7 finalists selected by the Royal Institute of British Architects to contend for the 2022 prize.
And they are Seabreeze, the luxury beach hut built to cope with the worst of British seaside weather. The Red House, a challenging work of art that pushed its builders to their limits. The Dutch Barn, a dramatic barn transformation built to share with the public. Muse House, deep retrofit, fusing energy efficiency and luxury in a glamorous period package. The punchy, pioneering blend of 3 architectural styles that is Surbiton Springs. Suffolk Cottage, the thrifty, inventive eco-extension of a brick and flint building. And the Library House, a small but exquisitely crafted gem. All 7 are remarkable, but only one can win.
This year's shortlist is full of projects which are adventurous, freewheeling kinds of buildings, you know? Full of vim and vigour. But which of them is going to be first over the line, past the post? I'd like to give you a clue, but, sorry.
Oh, all right then. It's colourful. It's unconventional. It is The Red House by the architect David Conn.
You're kidding me. Are you serious? I know, I got slightly... Wow. Crikey. Well, that's just great news.
His vivid, exuberant double take in red and green makes a quietly proud and quirky statement on a Dorset hillside. It takes the familiar shapes and materials of a traditional red brick home and transforms them into a building full of surprises. I'm here to break the glad tidings to its owner, Edward.
Hello.
Hello, Kevin. Welcome.
Thank you very much. What a grand thing it is. It was kind of too, irresistible, really.
Yes.
And I also have an important reason for being here to tell you that you've won.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Wow.
Yeah. Good, eh?
Seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. You've won. This is the House of the Year 2022.
Oh, my God. Wow. That is incredible.
Yeah, isn't it wonderful? And the house is so unusual and so strong.
An acquired taste, even. It has supersized eaves and chimneys, richly patterned bright red bricks, and even brighter green paintwork. But inside, well, there are different and subtler flavours.
Oh. Now, this is very interesting because the outside is so exuberant and powerful, and this is actually more restrained.
You come in here and it's almost as if you've gone into somebody's garage and you're just waiting to find the connecting door into the main house.
It is all quite utilitarian. There are surface-mounted light switches, a butcher's block floor, and unplastered, painted block walls. But what keeps it from feeling Spartan is the virtuoso craftsmanship that's gone into the details, like the curved concrete walls.
To get those curves, which just look as though they've just happened and flowed, there are something like 6 special blocks which had to be made with different radii just to get the perfect curve, is what gives this sort of apparently effortless interior.
Not effortless to build, but effortless to live in, thanks to the easy offset layout, which helps you glide through the ground floor.
Down this very generous corridor, this line through the building.
Have a look.
It's more like a road, isn't it?
Yes.
It's all been designed to provide the right blend of privacy and companionship. Not quite open plan, not quite closed off. But, sensibly, not everything is on show here.
There's my favourite room in the house.
Hey, oh, scullery, pantry.
Yes.
Oh, with a vent outside. Is this an insulated door?
It
then?
is, yep. And it's unheated and it's like an old larder.
How fantastic is that?
A correct, functional idea borrowed from the past, like lots of things in this magpie of a house. On the first floor, the magnificent main bedroom has a Victorian-flavoured bay window and a tinted ceiling straight out of a Regency boudoir. Then, at the heart of the building, a masterpiece.
See, this gorgeous, slinky staircase is as glamorous as anything from the 1930s. You feel like you're in a film. But actually, it's not about that at all. This is a staircase designed around human beings, around need, around solid handrails, not thin, silly sheets of glass. This is a staircase for all generations. This is a staircase that's future-proofed.
This blend of practicality and uncompromising, challenging design was what swayed the judges.
We're, getting into the aging society. This house more forward thinking about design for lifetime home standard. So already built-in lift, even though they don't need a lift right now at all. Then a wider corridor, so it's wheelchair-friendly.
Because of the focus placed on lifetime homes in the public housing sector, there's a sense that it is not compatible with the kind of higher architectural ambitions.
You don't have to compromise. House can be, future-proofed and yet joyful and then beautiful. You can just feel it, sort of playfulness as you, walk by.
Amidst a cost of living crisis, an environmental crisis, and coming out of COVID, play hasn't really figured very much.
Yeah, true. So now we have to be enjoy whatever the circumstance is.
I think the genius of this place is just how well it answers everything asked of it. And not just for now, but for years, decades into the future. It reaches into the past, it grabs all these architectural ideas and languages and it sort of projects them as one single coherent thing into the future. It says to its occupants, oh, by the way, come and live here and enjoy it and love it, but do so for the rest of your days because I am so adaptable. And look at it. It does all this with such playfulness. That's an idea which actually runs like a golden thread through so many of the projects on this year's long list. And goodness me, in times which are darker and more desperate, playfulness, that is much needed.